Welcome into my kitchen, where I like to cook from scratch for my family of 6 and share everything I'm making, creating, and learning along the way. Over the past 6 months, I've shared so many of our everyday meals, the dinners, snacks, and simple from-scratch recipes that keep our home running smoothly. In this video, I'm sharing my favorite 25 recipes from the past 6 months. These are the dinners that I have loved making and we have truly loved eating, and I'm also sharing some of the healthy snacks and treats that I make on repeat using wholesome ingredients. If you're looking for dinner ideas and motivation to get cooking in your own kitchen, I hope this video can be a great resource and source of inspiration for you. Every single recipe has an accompanying blog post with a printable recipe, so be sure to check the link in the description for a roundup of everything from this video. This is a longer video, perfect for playing in the background as you get your work done around the house today. So if you've come here for some dinner time inspiration and ideas to gain your spark in the kitchen again, you've come to the right place. I'm a mom who loves good food, a well-used kitchen, and creating a peaceful, welcoming home. So come on in and make yourself comfortable. I hope you feel right at home. Thank you, Thrive Market, for sponsoring this portion of today's video.
First, I need to make homemade mayo because I'm out. And this is gonna be the base for our burger sauce. It's crazy to me how fast we go through homemade mayo. I feel like I have to make it in every single video. You'd think I'd have some left over, but I don't. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is, and these measurements, they don't need to be exact, it's around there. So I usually do about a tablespoon or 2 teaspoons of Dijon mustard. And then I do about a tablespoon of distilled white vinegar. You can also use apple cider vinegar. And then I usually do about a 1/4 teaspoon of sea salt. And then I fill it with 3/4 of a cup of avocado oil, which I have here. I'm gonna let this just come to room temperature while I get my seasoning mixture ready for the ground beef. So now I'm gonna make a spice blend. This is gonna go on the ground beef. And I actually realized I was running low on a lot of my spices and pantry staples that I use all the time. So I placed an order with Thrive Market a couple days ago and my box just arrived. So I'm gonna open that up and we're gonna use some of those spices for this. Okay, I get a lot of spices and pantry staples from Thrive Market because it genuinely saves me a lot of time. But also Thrive has more rigorous standards than conventional grocery stores here in the US. They restrict over 1,000 ingredients that you might find in items at the store. And also they make it really, really easy. I can shop for things that I buy often and have it delivered straight to my door. And most of these products, the prices are super competitive. And I love to use their buy it again feature on their website so that I can just go back and buy some of the things that I'm constantly buying. This month I stocked up on a lot of spices. There's a lot of things that I cook with that are hard for me to find in the grocery stores. One of those, I don't know why, but I have a hard time finding this. This is sherry vinegar. And I also got some pickles for the burger sauce I'm gonna make today. But Thrive just makes it so easy for me to get what I need without putting forth too much time and effort. I don't need to drive to the grocery store. I have my 2 usual stores that I go to, but then they don't really have a lot of these specialty items. Also, their spices are really clean and high quality, and they taste amazing, and they're the best price I can find. So I really stocked up here on my spices. I also got a taco night spice blend for our taco night we're gonna do this week. I'm also gonna make some granola bars, so I got some brown rice crisp cereal and some mini chocolate chips. So this is just like a little restock. And I wanna thank Thrive for sponsoring today's video. I love working with them because every time I work with them, they give me an exclusive link and discount for you guys.
Right now, they're currently offering $20 off your first 3 orders and a free gift.
So Thrive works as an annual membership. It boils down to $5 a month, but the subscription pays for itself pretty quickly with free shipping on all orders over $49. And most of their products are some of the best prices that I could find. They also run sales all the time. So if you want to check out Thrive Market, go ahead and use my link, thrivemarket.com/christinesnotebook.
That will give you $20 off your first 3 orders and a free gift. You can use my link in the description or scan the QR code.
And I think you guys will really like them, so go check them out. And I'm gonna go ahead and put all this stuff away and get going on making this spice blend for our burger bowls.
For this spice blend, we're gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika, some freshly cracked black pepper, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of brown sugar.
I also have these dehydrated tomato peels. I roasted tomatoes and then I made marinara sauce, and I have these left over. I just basically dehydrated them in my little toaster oven for a few hours until they look nice and dry and crispy. And I've never done this before, but I wanted to see if I can turn it into like a spice, like tomato powder. I think that would just taste good in this. So I'm gonna see if my hand blender will blend this up. And if it does, we'll add it. Oh. Interesting. What are people using for this? Your food processor, your blender, let me know. Okay, it's like flakes. I think we can add that. This is definitely optional, but you know, because I have it, I'm just gonna add it. Okay, that's gonna go on the ground beef. Gonna season this up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna let this sit and work on something else. Now we have our mayo. My hand blender still has tomato flakes on it, which is fine by me. Tomato flecked mayo. Maybe that will be a new thing. Ooh, that actually sounds really cool. Okay, now we can make our burger sauce. First thing we're gonna do is chop up about 2 tablespoons of dill pickles. I really love dill pickles, so I could eat lots of these. This is probably more than 2 tablespoons, and I'm okay with that. Now I'm gonna add 1 teaspoon of pickle brine. Next, I'm gonna add a heaping tablespoon of ketchup and about a 1/4 cup of mayo. Some pepper, a scant 1/4 teaspoon. Oh wow, that's good. This is going in the refrigerator. I'll take this out later. All right, so now I'm gonna make some easy air fryer French fries to go in our burger bowl. So I only have sweet potatoes right now. I thought I had russet potatoes, but I don't. And I have 1 Yukon Gold potato, so I'm just gonna use these. Let me rinse these. I am gonna peel the skin off the sweet potatoes only because the skin is a little rough. Sometimes I leave it on, but I prefer no skin on sweet potatoes. By the way, if you need a new peeler, these little tiny dinky little peelers off of Amazon are the best. They work better than any peeler I've ever had, and I think they're like $4 or $5 for a 3-pack. The only thing about it is you don't want to put them in the dishwasher. You just want to rinse them with water and then dry it with a towel right away, or it will rust. So I don't know if that's like healthy or not. I don't really know much about that, but these peelers work. I'm not going for perfection here, just a quick and simple potato French fry. I'm not cutting them perfect. I just want to get them thin enough that they can cook pretty quickly and get crispy. So I'm doing about 1/4 of an inch thick. Now, if you want to, you could take these, and this is probably a good idea, and turn them more into French fry shape, like that. I'm kind of wishing I had done that, but you know, sometimes it just doesn't matter. I tossed those potatoes in about 1.5 tablespoons of avocado oil and about 1.5 teaspoons of salt. We're gonna air fry that at 385 for about 15 to 18 minutes. And on high heat, I'm gonna sear and cook this ground beef. It's okay for this one if you have larger pieces of ground beef. You actually kind of want that because it's kind of like a burger. Give those potatoes a few shakes halfway through cooking or whenever you get around to it. And while that's finishing up, I'm gonna assemble my burger bowl. I loved how I cooked up this meat because I cooked it on high heat, so some pieces were almost a little bit crispy and caramelized, and I do recommend that you use cast iron for this. And then go ahead and add in some extra pickles if you're like me and you love pickles. All right, I'll let this go longer. See if we get crispier. Let's see here. That's looking better. I'm gonna go a little bit longer. I only gave the potatoes a few extra minutes until they are your desired crispiness, and then go ahead and top it with that burger sauce. And this is a really delicious burger bowl. It's great if you're trying to watch your carbs, has high protein, lots of nutrition, super filling, and honestly, super delicious. I'm still dreaming of this one. My whole family scarfed it down, and I wish I had done a double batch of this. Okay, so we're gonna do a 1/2 cup of sour cream and a 1/2 cup of yogurt, Greek yogurt. One clove of garlic. And now we're gonna do about 1 cup of basil leaves. I'm just gonna eyeball it here. And then I'm doing about 1/4 cup of fresh dill. 1 teaspoon of honey. 1 tablespoon of distilled white vinegar. 1 tablespoon of olive oil for a little extra richness. 1 tablespoon of onion powder. 1/2 tablespoon of garlic powder. And then add 1 teaspoon of salt and blend that up. In the blender, I noticed that it was harder to get the pieces of dill really small. So I think a food processor is actually better for this, just because all the ingredients can be closer to the bottom and the base is wider. And for some reason, that just chops up the herbs better, in my opinion. The blender works great if you have a large volume of sauce, but when it's a small amount, like this is only 1 cup, it's not quite as efficient, but it does get the job done. My basil sauce is done. This can be used as a salad dressing and also a dipping sauce for your chicken. And I'm gonna use this on another recipe later in the week. I really like these flavors. It's kind of like a ranch, but lighter and heavy on the basil. I'm also just gonna add the tiniest squeeze of lemon juice. I feel like it just needs a tiny bit more, and lemon really rounds it out.
What are you making?
I made a really yummy dressing.
Ooh.
So it's got a tablespoon of distilled white vinegar and then a little tiny squeeze, maybe a half teaspoon of lemon juice. Fresh is best, but a high quality one from the bottle would also work. It's going in the fridge, and this will get better as it ages. All right, so first I'm going to chop up my chicken into bite-sized pieces.
I have boneless, skinless chicken thighs here, and I have about 1.5 pounds, maybe a little less, but you want 1.5 to 2 pounds of chicken thighs for this.
A whole tablespoon of onion powder, tablespoon of garlic powder, tablespoon of paprika or smoked paprika. I have smoked, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So you're gonna want about...
Go ahead and mix up that seasoning, and we're gonna cook it on a skillet.
I'm using kind of like a wide cast iron pan here and drizzle in some olive oil. Okay, that's nice and hot.
Meanwhile, while that's cooking, I'm going to rinse some rice. I have 2 cups of jasmine rice here. I'm just trying to rinse it until the water runs mostly clear.
Usually for 2 cups of rice, I need about 3 cups of water. This chicken has developed some nice color and caramelization. The great thing about this dinner is we're almost done. This is truly like a weeknight meal, and I love it so much for that. So I just need to get out my sauces and chop up a few veggies while we wait for the rice to finish cooking. The chicken is almost done here. I'm just giving it like a minute or 2 longer to develop some good color and flavor. So we've got our basil cream sauce and our yum yum sauce ready to go right here. This is our combo tonight. And I'm also doing shredded carrots, shredded red cabbage, and chopped up cucumbers. I just moved my rice to a smaller burner. So sometimes I'll move it to a larger burner to kind of get it boiling, and then I'll move it to a smaller burner and put it down to a simmer. And I feel like that works out perfect for rice. Try to chop these as thinly as you can. Obviously, like, it's not perfect, but the thinner it is, the more enjoyable it is to eat. I mean, that's just more fun, right? Okay, dinner is ready. Start off with some rice. Scoop some of that chicken on there.
Yes! Have the chicken I love.
Yeah, we had it the other day and everyone liked it. Yeah. Shredded carrots, cucumbers, cabbage. No, we don't have any more cucumbers. That was the last one. So you want to drizzle on your basil sauce that you hopefully already made. Great way to use up all those garden herbs. Some yum yum sauce. So this sauce is kind of like a mayo with a lot of spices in it. So, you know, if you can't get your hands on this, you can just create your own. This is really quite exciting. I think you guys are gonna really like this recipe. I have it on the blog for you, along with the basil cream sauce. Why not add more veggies? Okay, I've got all-purpose flour, Kamut, got my written recipe here. 3/4 of a cup of warm water, 177 grams, 2.5 teaspoons of yeast, sugar, (14 or 15 grams. Mix this up. and let this sit for 5 minutes. We're letting the yeast bloom. Now we're gonna add in 1 beaten egg, a 1/2 cup of sourdough starter or discard. Actually had a little bit more sourdough discard this time than I did last time I made it, so I might add a little extra flour so the dough isn't too sticky and wet, because I do need to be able to like plop it onto the grill without it completely disintegrating on me. Okay, so now we need 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I only have a 1/2 tablespoon measuring thing here, and I feel like I did too much. All right, about 25 grams. And then 1 teaspoon of sea salt. Mix this together, and then we'll add in the flour. Now we need a cup of freshly milled kamut flour, also called Khorasan. 141 grams, we'll just say 140. A cup and a half of all-purpose flour. 1. 2. 207 grams. Okay, so I just got it mixed. It's really sticky right now. I think I may have definitely had more liquid ingredients this time than I had last time, because last time I wasn't quite measuring. But anyways, I'm gonna let this absorb. I'm gonna let the flour absorb the moisture, the water and stuff before I start kneading it. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to add a little extra flour. All right, so I know flatbread is supposed to be a little sticky and tacky, but I definitely think that's not gonna work. So I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup more, which is 36 more grams of flour. 30. Just because I'm grilling it, I really want it to be able to work with it. It still feels soft, so I think it's gonna work. It actually feels really good. So just knead it a little bit until it forms a mostly smooth dough. I'm not gonna go crazy because it is sticky, so. I'm going to put some olive oil in this bowl, kind of spread it around. Also gonna get some on my hands. Get it on the dough. We're just making a mess here. Okay, so now we have our dough. I'm gonna cover this up and let it rise for 45 minutes. And to speed things along, I'm gonna put this inside my toaster oven, which is a little warm. So I turned this on for like a minute or two, or a couple minutes, then I turned it off. And now I'm just gonna let the bowl sit in here. The door cracked, and that will really help it rise quickly. Meanwhile, in a small saucepan, we're gonna make a glaze. So I have a 1/4 teaspoon of red pepper flakes, a 1/2 cup of balsamic vinegar, 2 tablespoons of honey.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Whisk that up. We're gonna bring this to a boil, then let it simmer for about 10 minutes to reduce this down. I'm really quite nervous about this next part. Let's see if I can accomplish a grilled flatbread. Here's my dough. So I'm gonna flour this really well, because this is the only thing keeping it from sticking to this thing and like flopping the wrong way on the grill. And then I'm going to, oh golly, too much. I'm nervous. Let's go outside. Come on, work with me. Oh gosh, no. Okay, I'm spraying the top of my flatbread so it doesn't stick. Here goes nothing. One, two, three. Yes! Okay, get my toppings. Okay, here are my toppings. I'm gonna wait until this is cooked, and then I'm just gonna let it melt on top. So I'll turn off the heat and just let the toppings melt. Looks good. All right. Okay, just gonna brush some pesto on here. It's my homemade garden pesto. Because it's almost done cooking, it only takes a couple of minutes, like 4 to 6 minutes per side. Now I'm just gonna let this cheese melt on top. Okay. Actually, that looks kind of thick. Okay, turning the heat off. Come on. All right, we did it. Is anyone sweating yet? Just me? Okay. I'm literally overjoyed right now that I did this. This was like something, this was one of the main reasons I got this grill for this recipe. I wanted to make a flatbread and grill it. Who knows why these ideas come to me and stick with me and become this passion of mine, but this is the latest passion. And we checked that box, so I'm very pleased. Moving on to the next thing. Okay, who's hungry? Whew. My pizza cutter is gone, missing, never to be found again. Oh, I've been missing this for forever. Everything's just working out today. Let's see what this looks like. It's literally perfection. It's perfect. Wow. It's like pizza to a new level. You could put anything on here. I feel like it needs like a drizzle of maybe the glaze. I'm hesitant to do that because my husband might not want the glaze because he doesn't eat as much sugar as me. But for my slice, just a little something. You can even put like some arugula and tomatoes on top. Oh yeah. This was a fun one. We've got our grilled peaches and onions. Let's get this party started.
I'll have the recipe for the grilled flatbread on my blog because I love how it turned out and I can't wait to make more of these this summer. We're gonna start off with a spice rub. I have 2 pounds of salmon, so this is a double recipe of the spice rub. We want 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, and then a teaspoon of ancho chili powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a teaspoon and a half of sea salt. Then you'll add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil and mix that up, and this is your rub for the salmon. The full recipe is on my blog, so don't worry if you miss any details here. The link is in the description. Then you're gonna put 2 pounds of skin-on salmon fillets on a sheet pan lined with foil and rub it with the spice blend. And what's great about this is the skin will actually stick to the foil, and then when it's finished cooking, you can cut your salmon and it will peel right off the skin, and you'll have perfectly cooked skinless salmon. I'm rinsing 2 cups of white rice, and then I'm gonna add in 3 cups of homemade chicken stock, and I'm gonna cook the rice in that for a higher protein, healthier rice. I'm gonna put this on the stove and bring it to a boil before I cover it and lower the heat. So now it's time to prep my veggies. I know some people don't like fresh cilantro, but I love it. So if you don't like cilantro, you can just omit it here. It won't have a strong flavor, but it'll still be refreshing and a nice little salad. Now I'm gonna cover my rice and bring it down to a very low simmer and let it cook for about 15 minutes. So I have 1 large English cucumber and I'm dicing it up very small, and then I'm gonna open up that beautiful avocado and cut that up into little cubes as well, and we're gonna make a beautiful salad with these ingredients. I was lucky to find a perfect avocado for this.
Wow, look at that perfect avocado.
I'm gonna dice this avocado into cubes and then cut open. I have 2 limes here ready to go. And then I also have a giant red onion. My Costco was selling these and they're huge. So I don't need very much of it. So I'm only gonna chop up about a 1/3 cup, and you wanna dice it very small. And here are all of our beautiful, healthy, fresh ingredients. I'm so excited to mix this all together. My oven is preheated now to 425. You're gonna put the salmon on the top rack and cook it for about 10 minutes. And then you wanna broil it for the last 2 minutes until the top looks a little bit crispy. For the onions, I'm rinsing them in cold water to get rid of some of that sharpness, and then it'll blend a little better into this salad. To finish this off, I'm gonna squeeze the juice of 1 lime into here, and then I'll mix it up and taste it and see if it needs any more. You also wanna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a few cranks of fresh cracked pepper, give that a mix, give it a taste, and then decide if you wanna add more lime. I, of course, did, and I ended up adding both of the limes. Okay, my salad is finished, so I'm gonna set this to the side, and then I wanna make sure I use up all of the ingredients I purchased. So I chopped up the rest of the cilantro. I also diced up the rest of that half of the red onion so I could store it away easily. And now I'm just gonna clean up my workspace and begin building a sauce.
No bowl meal is complete without a delicious sauce, and mine's gonna start with homemade mayo. Now you can buy mayo from the store. If you do, I recommend avocado oil mayo. It's a good, clean version, has good ingredients. This one I make at home with an egg, vinegar, avocado oil, Dijon, salt. It takes literally 1 minute. I've posted how to make this many times on my channel, and the recipe is also on my blog. It's very easy to do. I actually made this last night for another meal that we had, and I have enough to make this sauce, so I'm gonna go ahead and use it.
So you're gonna add in a 1/4 cup of that homemade mayo into a jar, and then I'm gonna add in a 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt is one of my favorite ways to make a healthier sauce, so instead of doing a half cup of mayo, we're doing a 1/4 cup of mayo and a 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt, which adds more protein and just makes a lighter sauce. Now we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of sriracha. This stuff adds a lot of flavor and I don't think it's very spicy. And then squeeze in about 2 teaspoons of fresh lime juice and then a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of honey, and a 1/2 teaspoon of olive oil for just a little boost in flavor. In the end, I ended up adding an extra tablespoon of the mayo. Because I used a non-fat yogurt, I thought it needed a little extra fat to boost the flavor. This sauce was absolutely delicious and addicting, and we're gonna use it on the salmon bowls and also for another meal that I'll be making later.
Just gotta see how this tastes. Great. I love it. So good. So to build a good bowl meal, you first need a good bowl, and I love these. These are from Crumble. They're called meal bowls. Perfect. I believe they're 20 ounces, and I will leave a link in the description, and they're just a great size for just filling it up with lots of good stuff. Overcooked it a little bit, but that's all right. Got all that good chicken stock in there, adds collagen and protein to the rice. The great thing about cooking your salmon like this and on the foil is it peels right off the skin. So the skin is attached to the foil, but I have a delicious piece of salmon that is now skinless.
The salmon is so delicious and just flakes apart. It's also really easy to cook. There were other ways I could have cooked this salmon, like I could have chopped it into cubes and gotten it nice and crispy, but I wanted this meal to be really easy to make, and I think we accomplished that. Not only does it taste amazing, but it's healthy and easy to make. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. I'll have the link in the description so you can try it out yourself.
It's amazing. Wow, I love it. One pound of shell pasta to salted boiling water. So you want 5 tablespoons of butter. I'm using my homemade butter, so fun. I'm pouring in 1/3 cup of flour. Now I have 4 cups of warmed milk. Okay, so I'm letting this reduce down. It's gotten thicker, as you can see. Now I should probably just turn off the heat. Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the heat. My recipe calls for a 1/2 tablespoon of Dijon mustard, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. All right, and now we're gonna add in the cheese a little bit at a time and let that melt.
So I used a blend of cheeses, mostly a white cheddar, but 2 different kinds. And I used about 4 to 5 cups. Really, you just want the consistency to be somewhat thick and just taste it and see if it tastes good, and then you're done. I will have this recipe on the blog for you though.
We are running out of room in here. I hope it fits. Questionable at this point. Hey guys.
I'm a cowboy.
All right, I think that's good. It's really good. Ooh, this is the fun part.
I then topped it off with some of the extra and leftover mozzarella cheese that I had. This ended up being a really good addition. And then I topped it with some homemade breadcrumbs. And this is gonna go in the oven and get nice and bubbly and toasty and delicious.
looks amazing.
This turned out amazing. As you can see, it was such a hit. I loved the topping of mozzarella cheese. I think that really is a good addition. And you can kind of be creative on what cheeses you use for the actual cheese blend. But we tend to like a white cheddar, especially the white cheddar from Azure Standard. So I'm excited to get more of that. After this delicious dinner, I had to go pick up my Azure Standard order, so I'm glad I got it all finished in time. And we have a big garden project going on in the backyard that I'm excited to share with you. So I packaged up a little meal, and my son was my little delivery boy, and he ran it over to the guys working in our yard. And my daughter was kind enough to leave a little sticky note for me on the fridge to remind me about my order pickup, because I will forget these things if I don't have help. I will have updates for you soon on the garden, and also I'll show you my Azure Standard haul. It was a good one, so I will be following up soon. I'm planning a pizza night tomorrow night for my family. So this is the evening before, and I'm getting my sourdough pizza dough started. I'm milling out 200 grams of Kamut flour. You're going to need 520 grams of flour total. So I have 200 grams of Kamut, and the rest will be all-purpose flour. And then add 13 grams of salt and then 1 teaspoon of instant yeast. And then just get all those dry ingredients mixed together into the mixing bowl before we add in the wet ingredients. Next, I'm going to add 170 grams of sourdough starter. My starter came directly from the refrigerator, so I fed it and let it rise, and then I stuck it in the fridge, and I just took it out and used it, and it's going to work great. So now I'm adding 410 grams of cool water, and go ahead and get that mixing. I'm using a dough hook in my Anka mixer. You can use a KitchenAid or whatever mixer you have. You just want to get it all mixed together and incorporated, and then add in 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Mix it on medium speed for about a minute, and then let the dough rest for about 15 minutes. What's neat about this recipe is even though it's sourdough, we're not going to let it sit and do any sort of bulk fermentation right now. We're just going to mix it, give it a few stretch and folds, and then it's going to go in the refrigerator overnight. So now, because I used up all my starter, I'm going to go ahead and replenish it. I'm adding a half cup of organic all-purpose flour to my jar and a half cup of filtered water. There's enough residue from the starter in there to get that starter going again, and I'm going to let that rise overnight. After the dough has rested, go ahead and knead it for just a couple of minutes on medium to high speed. Now I'm going to transfer my dough to this container. So first you want to grease it well with olive oil, your pan also, and the dough scraper, because this is a sticky dough, and get it in there and let it rest for 20 minutes. And then come back and wet your hands and go ahead and give it a series of stretch and folds. This process here greatly improves the texture of the dough and develops the gluten, and by the end it should be a lot more smooth and elastic and easier to work with. You're going to do this again every 20 minutes, and you're going to do about 3 sets total, and then this is going to go in the refrigerator overnight. The next morning, my sourdough starter is nice and bubbly, and I don't actually need it right now, so I'm just going to stick it in the refrigerator. But sourdough starters are very easy to maintain, and they're not as complicated as people think. I actually did a whole video on how to maintain your sourdough starter, which you can check out, and I'm going to move on with my day.
All right, now it's time to start shaping our pizzas.
I got the idea for this recipe from this book, and I definitely learned a lot reading it. So I've modified this so that it works better for our family. So you want 2 9x13 USA pans like I have, and then grease it well with oil. Put your dough in there and try to divide it into 2. And then basically you're gonna try to dimple the dough outward without stretching it too much. You wanna gently coerce the dough to fill the entire pan. So you're gonna do this in 20-minute intervals. So you're gonna cover the pan, give it another dimpling session to try and stretch it out to fill the pan. It helps if you have wet hands for this. And by the third time, it should fill the pan entirely, but it's okay if it takes more than 3 times also. So then you're gonna go ahead and cut up some cheese. I'm gonna start off with some Kerrygold cheddar. This is my favorite cheddar. And you're actually gonna put these little cheese cubes on the dough as it rises. It's gonna go through a long rise here for about 4 hours. So you put the cheese on there and then you cover the pans and you let that dough rise and develop even more flavor and structure for the next 4 hours. I like this recipe because you can put it together in the middle of the day and then come dinner time, all you have to do is finish it off and stick it in the oven. I think it's very friendly for moms and home cooks, and it just makes pizza night a little bit easier and more fun. I love this tomato sauce recipe. It's so easy, your kids can make it, and they definitely should. So kids, if you're watching, listen up because this one's for you. All right, you ready?
Yeah. So what's first?
All right, so first I'm gonna open this up. First you're gonna crush the tomatoes.
Get all of your ingredients out before you, including measuring spoons, and then dump a 28-ounce can of whole tomatoes into a bowl and crush it up with your hands.
You're doing great. It's gonna go on our pizza, so we want the pieces nice and small.
Try your best to not get tomato sauce everywhere and go wash your hands before the next step.
Okay, now we're gonna go right to the bathroom, or we're gonna go right to the sink.
When you come back, you're gonna add a 4th teaspoon of pepper.
Now we're gonna add a teaspoon of basil.
Okay.
That one.
Then add in a teaspoon of dried basil.
You want it flat. There. Perfect.
Then add a teaspoon of dried oregano.
This one's a little harder to get. Kind of give it a little shake. There. Okay, and now we're gonna do a teaspoon of garlic powder.
Oh, one?
This one.
Oh my gosh.
The biggest one is the teaspoon.
Then add a teaspoon of garlic powder.
Okay, and now we need 1 teaspoon of salt.
Now add in a teaspoon of coarse kosher salt. If you're using sea salt or table salt, you'll only want to use 3/4 of a teaspoon.
3 teaspoons of this red wine vinegar. So hold the teaspoon over this, and I'm gonna pour it.
Now you're gonna add 3 teaspoons or 1 tablespoon of red wine vinegar. It's the same amount, so if you can't find the tablespoon measuring spoon, just use 3 teaspoons. Go ahead and mix that up and then cover it up with something like a plate and let it sit on the table for 2 hours or so until dinner time.
Other way. Perfect. Boom. Thank you, Noah. That's it. That's all you need to do for this pizza sauce. It just sits here for the next 2 hours, and we'll use it tonight for dinner, right? Pizza night.
Yeah.
All right, I've got my oven preheating right now to 500. I'm gonna lower it to 450 when I actually bake the pizzas, but I just want it nice and hot for right now before I put them in there. My pizza dough is still rising. I put it on the oven here so it has a nice warm area to rise because it's really cold right now in our kitchen. So I have a block of fresh mozzarella cheese. You want a low moisture mozzarella for this, so it should be kind of like harder, and you want a block instead of pre-shredded. Now with this style of pizza, you actually put the cheese on first and then you just like kind of put a little bit of sauce on top and then you bake it like that, and it makes the crust really good, not soggy at all. I also like using this cheddar, so I'm gonna do a blend, and I also like using provolone, but I don't have provolone right now. Yeah, I can use this now.
Yeah. Now you hold it and
okay.
Then
Okay, for one of these pizzas, I'm gonna cut open 2 of these Italian sausages and cook them up and just put some crumbles on top of the pizza. So I'm actually gonna take it out of the casing and cook it up into smaller pieces.
Junior, is that his name?
Okay, so I'm gonna give you instructions here, and listen up closely because I didn't follow my instructions exactly when I was filming. So before you add this cheese, I would par bake it at 500 for about 5 to 7 minutes. Then I would take it out and add the rest of the cheese, the rest of your toppings. And with this style of pan pizza, you add the tomato sauce last. You just kind of throw it on there, dab it on there. But you could also, if you're par baking it, you could also just spread it on the crust. Just a nice thin layer, and then add the rest of the toppings, and then maybe a little extra tomato sauce on top. The key to this is you don't want the crust to get soggy. It's a thick crust, so you want it to bake nice and fluffy and crispy. So that's why you either par bake it or just go a little lighter on the toppings, and you'll end up with a perfect crust. The magic of this recipe is the fact that 2 pizzas fit in there at the same time. Major win for me and my family. If you're par baking, bake it for those first 7 minutes or so at 500 and then reduce the temperature to 450. In my case, I cooked this at 450 for about 25 minutes, and I turned the pans around halfway so that all the sides get nice and golden. I'll share the recipe on my blog with all the details and cooking notes for you. But this is such a good pizza night recipe. I love that it cooks in a pan and that you can get 2 of them at the same time. The crust is so yummy, it's crispy, and if you get cheese on the edges, then you get like a crispy, cheesy crust, and it's perfect. And because the pan is coated with olive oil and you're cooking at a high temperature, the bottom of the crust also gets nice and crispy, and it's just such a solid recipe for a pan pizza. And I think I'm gonna be making this a lot more often, just because I love the fact that I can make 2 pizzas at once and I don't need to shape the pizza and slide it into the oven, although I do love that style of pizza also. But this is just another idea to add to your recipe binder, and I hope you guys try it out and let me know how you like it.
Dinner's ready!
This is a no-bake bar we're going to be making. These are some of the ingredients we'll be using. And you're going to start off with 1.5 cups of pecans, and then 1 1/4 cups of rolled oats, and then 1/4 cup of ground flaxseed meal. Give that a quick process. And then for flavor, we're going to add 9 whole pitted medjool dates, and then 1/2 cup of melted coconut oil, 1/4 teaspoon of pure almond extract, which adds such a good flavor, and then just pulse that up until it becomes a crumbly dough. We're gonna press this into a parchment-lined loaf pan to create a base for sort of a cookie bar. And you're gonna save about 1 cup of this dough as crumbles, and we're gonna sprinkle them on top at the end. So first, go ahead and press this down. So this is your base. And now we're gonna make a coconut oil chocolate. We're gonna pour it over that dough and then freeze it so it solidifies. So you're gonna start with 1/4 cup of coconut oil, make sure you melt it completely, and then add in 1/2 cup of cocoa powder and then 1/4 cup of honey. Mix this up really well. It should be pourable, but also still thick. So I kept adding a little extra cocoa powder until it was the thickness that I wanted. Now, if you don't melt your coconut oil completely, it'll look more like this, which is still workable, but it's easier if you're able just to pour it in. So make sure you melt that coconut oil all the way, and then you can pour it over, spread it around, top it with the rest of those cookie crumbles, and then top it with some flaky sea salt. And then you're gonna stick it in the freezer so it can solidify. This needs about 2 hours in the freezer before you cut it so it can solidify. It is a little bit crumbly, which doesn't bother us. We just eat up the crumbs. But if you are worried about that, you could add a little bit less of the oats, and then you have a little bit less dough to work with. But man, this is so good, especially when you serve it straight from the freezer. So I cut these up into little bars and I keep them in a container in the freezer, and we just grab them as little snacks and treats. but every single ingredient in this is nourishing and just good for you. My kids love to eat this when they get home from school, and I feel good as a mom knowing they're getting a lot of healthy fats, protein, and just a really filling and satisfying treat. This recipe is on my blog. I left a link in the description. I hope you guys try it out and let me know how you like it.
First thing we need to do is season up this ground beef. I have 20 ounces of ground beef here, so you can use a pound or a little bit more than a pound. And I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of rice vinegar, 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, if you add a little bit of salt to your garlic and kind of smear it with your knife and kind of help you turn this garlic into more of a garlic paste. Just want to get this really nice and flavorful, and I'm going to add this to the ground beef, and it's going to flavor the ground beef as we prepare the rest of the ingredients.
Now I'm going to cook up some jasmine rice. I'm cooking more than I need here. You only need 2 cups of cooked rice, but our family likes to have extra rice in the refrigerator, so I'm just going to cook a batch here.
2 cups of rice and 3 cups of water, and some salt to taste. Okay, so we have some components. So the rice is one component. The stir fry is another, and then this is the sauce that will go in the stir fry. 4 tablespoons of soy sauce, or 1/4 cup. 1 tablespoon of fish sauce. And then we're gonna do a tablespoon of lime juice. See if I can somehow measure this. Okay. And then a tablespoon and a half of brown sugar. So it's not a sauce as much as it is, it's gonna reduce down and flavor up the meat and the veggies really well. We're gonna add a sauce on top at the end. For the veggies, you can use 2 red bell peppers. I found these at Costco, thought they looked fun. And so I'm gonna use these, and I'm gonna do 3 of them. The last time I made this, I used a few little baby peppers from my garden. I think it was like a poblano pepper and then a green pepper. So I'm not picky about what peppers go in this, but red pepper does add a nice flavor.
Cut up your peppers and also 1 whole onion.
All right, I moved my rice to the front burner now because it's a smaller one, and I have it set on a very, very low simmer. And soon I'll just turn that off. And I'm gonna do about a tablespoon or so of coconut oil. And let's saute these veggies. Okay, the oil's hot. Do a little bit of salt in here just to season the veggies. All right, so this has gotten significantly smaller and everything is browned. So now I'm gonna add the meat. Now that I've gotten the meat broken up and cooked, I'm gonna add in this sauce, and then we're gonna let it reduce down until everything has basically caramelized. So this is gonna take a little bit here because we still have a lot of juice left from the meat. And so yeah, we're gonna let this just cook on medium high heat. Oh, we still got some brown sugar in here. As you can see, there's a lot of liquid and we want that to go away. So we're gonna keep cooking. And while this is happening, I'm gonna run to the garden and get some fresh basil because that is an important element of this dish. Back. Let's see how we're doing over here. Getting there. If you guys do not have an herb garden yet, I highly recommend you get one. Makes life so much better Makes cooking so much more fun and delicious. I'm just trying to cut off the leaves and get rid of any stems. So you want about a cup of basil leaves. So you can really start to see some parts of this caramelizing, which is what I'm looking for. Now we're gonna add in our basil and basically turn off the heat. And just mix this in. You just want this to basically wilt into the dish. My rice is also finished. Now we just have 2 more little condiments to make to go with this. So we'll give this a minute to wilt down. All right, this next part makes the dish, in my opinion. So if you have a mandolin, I do think it tastes better to slice your cucumbers on it. You do have to be careful with your fingers. I think we all know that. But the cucumbers turn out so delicious and delicate and perfect. And this adds a really nice crunch to the dish. Okay, when I get close to the end, I just kind of use a fork. There you go. They're so pretty. I'm gonna go to the side. For this cucumber salad, we're basically gonna do a teaspoon or a tiny splash of rice vinegar, a little tiny bit of chili crunch. This is spicy. I love it, but it is probably not kid friendly. Usually me and my husband will just eat the spicy stuff with our meal and the kids won't touch it, and that's fine. Last but not least, a quick sriracha mayo. This is gonna get drizzled right on top. Once again, this is spicy, but you can control the spice, and it is so flavorful. Now you can make as much of this sauce as you want, and you can also make it as spicy as you want. But I have about 1/4 cup of mayo and about 2 teaspoons of sriracha. I actually think I have less mayo than that, but actually that's about right. It's not a perfect science, but I promise you, it's delicious. Here's our basil beef. It looks beautiful.
So I first tested this recipe after I had gone on a long nature walk with my boys. It was a beautiful sunny day. We came home starving. I had some ground beef in the refrigerator and I made this dinner, and it was so good, especially because we were hungry. So I think this is a great, quick and easy dinner, and I usually have most of these ingredients on hand. I love the combination of flavors and textures and crunch. It's healthy, it's light, it's high protein, and I love that it uses up my garden fresh basil because I'm always looking for uses for that. Also, if you don't have limes, you can also use lemon juice. I tested that and it works out really well too. I like to just mix it all up, and when I served it for my family, I actually just added 2 cups of rice to the skillet when I was finishing cooking, because honestly that's just a lot easier to serve up and more family friendly. So you can definitely just make this like a skillet meal and then serve it with the cucumbers on the side. I only added the red cabbage because I had it and I wanted to use it up, but it adds a really nice crunch. So go ahead and give it a try and tell me if you like it. Sometimes people ask me if my kids really eat the dinners that I make, and the truth is they don't eat all of it, they'll eat portions of it. I have kids of varying ages, so I actually cook for the adults and the grown kids, and then I will give the younger kids what they're willing to eat from that. So I cook for the joy of it, and I cook meals that I really want to eat, and then I just modify a little bit for the kids, and we usually have like fresh fruit or yogurt or other things that they can eat with their dinner.
I have 2 whole chickens, and I'm gonna cook both of them. But I'm gonna do them one at a time in the Instant Pot. I did this in my last freezer meal prep video. So you guys, if you watch that, it's basically the same process here. This is so easy. So basically I'm just gonna add about a cup of water, nice generous amount of salt here, some garlic powder, and some freshly cracked black pepper. Close it up and cook for 30 minutes.
chickens are almost finished, so I'm gonna work on the chicken salad now. I'm just gonna do a little bit of parsley, not all of it. I'm also gonna chop up some walnuts. I'm gonna do half olive oil and half avocado oil. I'm gonna let this sit out for about 30 minutes. Okay, now I'm gonna add in some grapes. You can also just use raisins, but grapes are a little healthier. I'm taking the meat, putting it in one bowl, and the bones, putting it in another bowl. I'll freeze the bones to make broth another time, but there's already a lot of good broth in the Instant Pot just left over from cooking the chicken, so I will bottle that up and use it soon. All right, so now we need to blend up this mayo. I usually put a towel down just to protect my counters or do it on a cutting board. It always turns out thicker if you let the egg come to room temperature. And then also I used a blend of olive oil and avocado oil, but if you use only avocado oil, it actually gets even thicker. So I'm just using a blend because I just want to eat more, oh dear, more olive oil in general. Now let's see if we can mix this without spilling everywhere. I'm gonna do a half cup of this mayo, a squeeze of Dijon mustard, about a tablespoon of honey, lots of freshly cracked black pepper, a squeeze of fresh lemon. I'm using half of a lemon. Hopefully that's not too much. I'm gonna start with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and then taste it. I'm grating in a big clove of garlic. Okay, let's see where we're at with this. Let me do it on top of it. All right, so we've got our mix-ins ready to go. Now let's add in the chicken. I really do need a bigger bowl, but don't have one right now. Let's taste it. It's really good. It does need some more sauce and flavoring, so I'm gonna squeeze out the rest of that lemon juice. Add a little bit more honey, because if you think about it, this was definitely a double batch of chicken, but it didn't exactly double all of the additions. I'm sad I'm using up almost all this mayo. But honestly, this mayo, it's really, really good. I love the combination of olive oil and avocado oil, as well as using apple cider vinegar instead of distilled white vinegar. And that's the great thing about homemade mayo. You can pick and choose what you want to use for your vinegar and for your oil, and it changes up the flavor. So you can also add garlic, you can add herbs, you can make an aioli. There's no limit to the things you can create. All right, this will do it, I think, for the week. My kids will be so happy. And I normally would add like extra craisins, maybe extra grapes, but for now I'm gonna leave it like this and see how my kids like it. And if they want a little more sweetness, then I'll add more stuff in later. But there you go, adding a little more salt. I tweaked the recipe to perfection. It'll be on my blog. It's amazing. You have to try this one.
I did end up adding a little extra lemon, and I think it could use a little bit more apple cider vinegar. Just really like brings out the flavor. The goal is for my kids to absolutely love this.
This was the broth that was basically just left in the Instant Pot when I cooked the chicken. So I didn't even add that much water to it. As you can see, it completely solidified. So it's full of collagen, and that makes me happy.
We're gonna make the most amazing lemon cupcakes. I measured everything out. So I have Coruscant flour, all-purpose flour, sugar, salt, got our mixing bowl, baking powder, baking soda. All right, let's get started. So first, I have 160 grams of sugar into the mixing bowl and the zest of 2 large lemons. These cupcakes are bursting with lemon flavor, and we're gonna use olive oil, and it's gonna be so moist and delicious, and they're not gonna dry out. Okay. Now with cupcakes, it's best if all of your ingredients are room temperature. So I measured these out like about an hour ago, maybe longer, and they've just been sitting out. So they should be room temperature now. Okay, that should be good. Okay, so now you have your sugar and lemon zest, and you want to use your hands to kind of break it up and get the essential oils out of the lemon zest. And you can smell that bright lemon flavor when you do this. This is what really gives it like that pop of lemon flavor. I'm also going to use real fresh lemon juice. Now I'm going to add a half cup or 100 grams of sour cream, 65 grams of fresh lemon juice, 60 grams or 1/4 cup of whole milk, 2/3 cup or 130 to 135 grams of olive oil, 2 large eggs. Go ahead and whisk this up to combine.
I also forgot to add the vanilla, so you'll want to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract as well.
Next, I'm going to add 150 grams of Kamut flour that I milled myself. It's also called Coruscant. And then I'm going to add 115 grams of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon of fine sea salt, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. So I'm going to mix those dry ingredients together. And now just try to incorporate it. Just mix until incorporated, but don't overmix. Just gonna get some of the clumps out with a whisk. Okay. There's your batter. All right, so last time I made this, it filled up more than 1 tray. It was just a little bit extra, so I'm gonna bring them both out. And then, we're gonna use these fancy cupcake liners. Okay, so you wanna fill it 2/3 of the way full. You don't wanna overfill it. Make space here. So I like to use a muffin scoop like this. All right, that looks about right. I'm just trying to get them 2/3 of the way full. All right, this one I'm gonna set to the side. And now we do have a little more here. Okay, so we have enough for 3 more, just like I thought. We're gonna make the icing. I'm gonna do a lemon buttercream frosting. My oven is preheating right now, so the cupcakes have not gone in yet, So I'm just gonna make this real quick. So we need the zest of another lemon. I'm telling you, it's a very lemony cupcake. And I could squeeze the juice out of these lemons and use that, but I'm gonna use the bottled lemon juice instead because it's easier to measure and it has a more consistent taste for this, but the fresh lemon juice is also a great idea. 1 cup of softened butter. I don't have unsalted right now, I only have salted, so that's what I'm using. Make sure it's soft. And then because of that, I'm gonna add a little less salt when I actually mix it. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm just gonna guess here. 1, 2. We're gonna do about 3.5 cups of powdered sugar, and we can add more if needed, if the consistency calls for it. This is gonna make a generous amount of frosting, but I promise you it's worth it. All right, so that's about 3.5 cups. 1 teaspoon of vanilla bean paste. All right, let's get this thing going. Hopefully it doesn't. If needed, I'll add in some heavy cream, depending on the consistency here. All right, let's try this. Okay, I think I did a little bit too much lemon juice when I poured it in there. So measure. So to even it out, I'm gonna do a little splash of heavy cream. And then I'm gonna add in, I have about a 1/2 cup more or less of powdered sugar. All right, my oven has preheated to 350. So I'm gonna get this in there. Didn't realize I had an extra. Set a timer for 15 to 18 minutes. I don't have a lot of experience with piping bags and tips and all of that, but I'm gonna give it a go. My daughters are usually the ones who do this. I think this bag is too small. I know you're supposed to bend it backwards and stuff. Mine just is not doing it very well. So this does harden up in the fridge. So you want to bring it kind of to room temperature before you ice it.
Frosting?
But you can keep it in the fridge and then let it come to room temperature later. So I think I'm going to, I don't want it to get too warm. I think I will put it in the fridge just for a little bit so it hardens up a little more before I frost the cupcakes in a little bit. So let's do that.
You're making cupcakes?
Yeah, tonight. Sure. Thank you. Okay. Was that fun?
Yeah.
Had fun with that?
Yeah.
All right, I gotta clean up this mess. Can you put this in the refrigerator for me? Cupcakes look done. Okay, let these come down to room temperature and then we will ice them. Definitely not a pro with this. Ooh, it looks beautiful. So you want to be generous with the icing, at least in my opinion. Ooh, it looks so pretty. They look so pretty.
I hope this baking day in my kitchen filled up your cup as much as it did mine. I have a few extra recipes on my blog for you now. These lemon cupcakes, as well as the sourdough honey wheat sandwich bread, the chicken pesto hand pies, and the Pop-Tarts. So head on over to my blog. The links will be in the description. Next, I'm making a braised beef. I'm gonna do orange, ginger, turmeric, onion, tomato paste, paprika, cumin, some bone broth, some orange juice, some zest of orange. Last but not least, chuck roast. I love working with chuck roast. You can add so many different flavors. It braises beautifully, it freezes amazing, and it's just easy to work with. I'm gonna season this on both sides with 1 tablespoon of kosher salt. This is a pretty big chuck roast. I believe mine is about 4 pounds. First, I'm gonna sear this meat in some olive oil. All right, while that's happening, I'm gonna get my other ingredients ready. I have a frozen block of orange juice I'm gonna use. All right, so we have onion, garlic. I have about 4 cloves of minced garlic. I have orange juice, orange zest, tomato paste. All right, we're gonna do 1 teaspoon each of cumin, paprika, turmeric. I'm adding this for health benefits. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my cube of orange juice. And now I'm gonna grate some frozen ginger, just like this, into the pot. So I'm doing about 2 inches of frozen frozen ginger. Maybe a little bit less because, you know, I'm holding the last bit in my hand. 1 tablespoon of coconut aminos or soy sauce. I'm not exactly sure what I'm making. I just thought all of this sounded really good together. I still have my chicken stock from yesterday. I have not strained it out yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and add 2 cups to this. So this is what's gonna create the braising liquid for the meat. Now I'm just gonna add this back in. I'm gonna add in the orange zest and the juice of an orange. I'm just cooking on a whim here. I wrote down this recipe thinking it will work, but I'll report back and let you know if it actually does work. Anytime you braise anything, you want the liquid to come about 2/3 of the way up over your meat. And now this whole pot is gonna go in the oven. You wanna cover the pot and then put it in a 300-degree oven for about 3 hours. And then the last 30 minutes, I usually take off the lid. When I was filming, I didn't do this, but I've since learned that that's the best way to cook this. So later I checked on it after I'd taken the lid off. It had developed a nice little crust, but it needed a little more time to get tender. So put it back in there if that's the case, and then after you take it out, let it rest for about 30 minutes before you try to shred it. I need a little more time before I shred this meat and put it into a bag, but essentially you want to shred it, put it into a bag, maybe 2 bags with the juice in there as well, and then freeze it flat. And then when you go to cook it, thaw it like in the fridge overnight, and then put it on a sheet pan with the juices and broil it or bake it maybe at around 375 to 400 until it's heated through and a little bit crispy. And then I would serve that with rice and maybe broccoli or green beans and just use that extra sauce to sauce up your rice. I do have an update for you on this one. We ended up heating up this meal a little sooner than I expected, so I got some footage for you to show you how amazing it turned out. We loved this meal. I ended up reheating it on a day when we were getting our garden going. It was just a beautiful Sunday, and so I didn't really have to cook. I took the meat out in the middle of the day. I let it start to thaw, and then I ended up kind of breaking it up and putting it on a sheet pan and turning on the oven to 350. And I let that go for about 30 minutes, maybe 45, until it was warmed through and just a little bit crispy. And then I cooked up some rice and some frozen broccoli, and we drizzled that with some coconut aminos. And this was so delicious. I ended up putting this recipe on my blog for you guys. I have a feeling I'm going to be making this one on repeat in my house. All the kids loved it. They devoured this meal. This is actually my onion bed from last year, and some of them got left, I guess. And so apparently I can use this almost like the same as a green onion. So I'm gonna use it in dinner. I've got my leftover beef here. I've got some leftover rice, and I'm gonna chop up some veggies. I kind of feel like we're in like a midweek slump. So this is going to be a very, very simple thing to make. Here's a great simple recipe for using up any type of leftover meat you have. It's also a great way to use up any veggie scraps you have. I was really happy with how this turned out, and it really only took me about 10 minutes to put together this meal. All right, I'm going to shred 4 carrots. Into a skillet, I'm going to add the rest of that shredded beef and let this start to crisp up a little. That's cooking. I'll show you what I have here. So I'm going to cook up the rice with carrots and green peas and throw in some eggs, and then add in some soy sauce and rice wine vinegar. And then I also have some oyster sauce in my pantry, so I'm going to add a little bit of that too, just to add flavor. So it's going to be kind of a takeout inspired fried rice. I almost forgot, I also have toasted sesame seed oil. I'm gonna add just a little bit. Figure I'll just add all of this in together. Just to get those veggies cooked up a little bit. Let's add in about a tablespoon of soy sauce, a tablespoon of rice vinegar, a half tablespoon of oyster sauce. I'm gonna add the green onions in there. Add in the eggs. And I have about 3 cups of rice. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and try this. All right, I'm gonna do just a little bit more oyster sauce, a half tablespoon more of soy sauce. And I think that should do it. That meal could not have been easier, and we're already done. The only tricky part is not getting little pieces of rice all over your kitchen. Simple fried rice that looks delicious. I'm still dreaming of this one. It was so good and so simple, and I used to make fried rice and stir fry all the time, and I sort of forgot about it. So this has reminded me of how genius this meal is, because you can put anything in it and you can add flavor with some soy sauce, a little bit of toasted sesame seed oil, and then if you have oyster sauce, that adds a lot of flavor too. I've even added tahini to stir fries before, and that turned out really good also. You just need to add a little extra water, but this was a good one. I hope you guys try it out. Now I need to make some tortillas. So I'm following my same day sourdough Kamut tortilla recipe on my blog. I'm gonna do a double batch. So I'm gonna measure out 440 grams of this Kamut. It's also called Khorasan, which can be confusing for people. So 440 grams of Khorasan. I'm gonna go ahead and run this through my mill. Now I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. For tortillas, I usually like to use the dough hook on my Anka shroom mixer. A smaller amount of dough, the dough hook does a better job at kneading it. Okay, so now my recipe calls for softened butter, but because this is gonna go in the freezer, I'm actually gonna use olive oil because I think that would work better for a freezer-friendly tortilla. I'm gonna stir this together real quick. Now I need to measure out 200 grams of sourdough starter. I fed it this morning, so it's not super bubbly because we've been out of town, so it's not as active as my starter normally is, but it's okay. You can even use discard for this recipe. All right, I have too much. Now I need to add 100 grams of olive oil. There we go, perfect. Now we need 250 grams of warm water. I warmed this up to 110 degrees with my electric kettle here. Now I'm gonna start adding in I'm just gonna add a teeny bit more water just because olive oil has less moisture than butter. So I'm just trying to get it even with the recipe. You want this dough to be really stretchy, smooth, and elastic. All right, this looks stretchy enough to me. On a floured surface, I like to roll the dough into a rectangle and then divide it into 16 equal pieces. Then we'll shape them into dough balls and let them rest for 20 minutes. There are lots of ways that you could turn these little pieces of dough into balls, but the easiest for me, at least for this dough, is just to kind of fold it over itself until you have a really tightly formed ball. And you could also kind of do this, apply tension to the top of the dough ball. Some people like to do like sort of this. There's many ways. Just try to get it into a nice tight ball shape. And then we're gonna let this rest for about 20 minutes and I'll go deal with my chicken. All right, it's time to make some tortillas. I have my maiden skillet. I'm gonna heat it up. This is a carbon steel skillet. So it's kind of like cast iron. So I'm gonna turn on the heat right now and let it start getting really hot. Make sure it's on. So I'm gonna do like medium-high heat. Put a little bit of flour on here. You're also gonna need a bench scraper. So my goal is to get these as thin and as large as I can because I'm gonna make breakfast burritos and I'm gonna wrap them up with some meat, some potatoes, cheese, some veggies. So let's see if I can get these large enough and thin enough. Now I know that making homemade tortillas is kind of a lot of work. It's a process, so I don't do it that often, but I'm really trying to give my family better breakfast options. I don't like that they're eating processed food in the morning. My husband usually gets a bagel. My kids often eat bagels. Sometimes we buy cereal. The mornings are just really hard for us. So I'm really hoping that having homemade tortillas with freshly milled flour,
lots of good things in it. It's gonna be a good nutrient-dense breakfast for them, and it's just gonna make me feel better that I'm sending them off with some good food in them instead of processed food. First tortilla is on the skillet.
This is a good time to just try to relax and put on an audiobook and learn something new. Try to enjoy yourself because this can be a tedious process, but these turned out so amazing. So I do think it's worth it. The flavor was really good, and the fact that it uses ancient grains, we're getting lots of nutritional benefits from that. And these hold together pretty well, especially even in the freezer. So I'm pretty happy with this recipe.
Okay, for this next recipe, I'm hoping that this is low effort. In my mind, it's low effort, but please forgive me if this ends up being more involved than I thought. But I think it should be pretty simple, especially if you make the sauce and you already have the sauce and then it comes together really fast. But the sauce is easy to make. So we're gonna do a coconut, peanut, lime dressing, and we're gonna make a noodle bowl, and we're gonna cook the chicken in the sauce. We're gonna add the sauce on the noodles. We're gonna add some cucumber, cilantro, red peppers, and it's gonna be a crunchy, saucy bowl with chicken on top. So I think it sounds delicious. Let's make it together. All right, I've got my saucepan here, and we're just gonna add all the ingredients for the sauce right in here. Should be simple enough. First, we're gonna add a whole can of full-fat coconut milk. Next, I'm gonna add a half cup of peanut butter. Then we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of red curry paste. And you can add more of this, but I would say start with 1 tablespoon and then see how you like it. 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. 2 teaspoons of fish sauce. Now a lot of these ingredients, they seem kind of like special ingredients, but I always have these in my pantry. You need a lot of these ingredients in all sorts of Asian and Thai dishes. So it's just one of those things that it's good to have these on hand. 1 teaspoon of rice vinegar, another pantry staple. We're gonna do 2 fresh limes. Thinking about adding these closer to the end. All right, we're gonna grate in 1 large clove of garlic. I pulled my ginger straight from the freezer, and I'm gonna grate in about 1 teaspoon. Now let's bring this over to the stove. All right, so I still need to add lime. I'm gonna add the juice of 2 limes, but it's best if you add your lime last, because anytime you use citrus, it's really best to add it in last. Otherwise, it can start to kind of turn bitter if you cook it too much.
So we're basically just gonna warm this up and let those flavors meld together, but I tasted it and decided to add another tablespoon of soy sauce, and then I also added a half tablespoon more of red curry paste. And then when I add the lime at the end, that will bring it all together. But definitely taste and season accordingly as you go.
All right, sauce is starting to simmer, so I'm gonna turn the heat down, and you're gonna have to forgive me because I just realized that we are actually gonna need 3 pots to complete this meal. So I'm very sorry about that. So you have to boil your pasta. So I'm turning that on. I'm using these rice ramen noodles. I really like these. They're made with millet and brown rice. They have a good amount of protein in them. It's just healthier than your typical ramen. I'm gonna salt the water a little bit. And as usual, you're gonna wanna reserve some of the water when you're cooking because you might need it to thin out the sauce. All right, let that boil, and then I need one more pan. Now, you can do this in your air fryer, so that is an option also. I just wanted to show you in a skillet. So the sauce is pretty good. I don't think I need to simmer it for too long. It's already thickened. So I'm gonna turn this off and add the lime. Now, if you make the sauce like a day ahead of time, that is preferred because you can marinate your chicken in it for like 30 minutes, right before you're thinking about making dinner. Just pour about half of the sauce over the chicken, let it marinate for like 30 minutes, cook it in a skillet, and then all you have to do is cook your pasta and drizzle the sauce over it all.
As always, I like to taste it and adjust as needed.
That is really, really good sauce. I think it needs more lime. All right, let's get our chicken out. I've got 2 chicken breasts here. It's a little wet, so I'm gonna try and dry it. Okay, so I'm gonna try and cut this chicken into 4 pieces. Well, yeah, 4 pieces, and then I'm gonna cut it thinner. The thinner it is, the better it's gonna cook up in the skillet. And so, once again, I apologize that this is not as low effort as I thought. This is kind of tricky if it's not super thick. It's hard to get it really thin, but the thinner, the better. Helps if you have a sharp knife. I like this knife by Maiden. All right, so I'm gonna put them in here. This sauce has cooled down, at least some, and I'm only gonna let it sit for a couple minutes because the sauce is still warm. And that's not good to have raw chicken sitting in warm sauce. So we're gonna cook it here in a minute. All right, drizzle in some oil. You can use coconut oil, avocado oil. I'm using olive oil. And once this is hot, I'm gonna sear the chicken. All right, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, that is hot now. I'm just gonna chop up some cilantro for topping. And I'm gonna do like thin slices of red pepper. What I'm hoping to do with the cucumber is get like some ribbons, like that. I mean, it's fun, but it takes extra time. But it's fun. All right, the rest I'm just gonna cut up. That's what you're looking for. So drizzle it with some sauce. You can use another kind of noodle. Like this is kind of breaks apart a little easier. You can use another rice noodle or like pad thai noodles. Chicken turned out amazing. And maybe a little drizzle of sauce on top and some cilantro. Peanut, coconut, lime, chicken noodle bowl, or whatever you want to call it. This looks incredible. All right, let's try this.
Delicious, yes. Low effort, debatable. Depends on who you ask. I think if you make the sauce ahead of time, then it's low effort. But if you're making the sauce and boiling the noodles and cooking the chicken all at once, it starts to become a lot, but I would say it's worth it. I'm definitely gonna put this recipe on my blog, so I'll leave a link in the description for the sauce and then for the bowl. All right, that's it for tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and serve it up and then clean my kitchen. I'm gonna bottle up this sauce, so if we have any leftovers, we can save it. It makes a good amount, and I think this is a sauce that's worth having on hand and even making for like a Sunday meal prep. So we have a delicious peanut lime coconut dressing. And then we've got this caramelized chicken. This turned out so good. I do think the sauce needed just a little bit more salt, maybe a little bit more lime for like that pop of flavor. So you can either just add more to the sauce or you can add it on top of your dish. Do like a squeeze of lime and some extra salt. But in the final recipe, I'm gonna add just a little bit more. And so hopefully your sauce turns out absolutely perfect. Well, I really loved this one, and I think this sauce is gonna become a staple in my meal prep routine. As I was making more bowls, I started to sprinkle on some coarse mineral salt and a squeeze of fresh lime juice, and that really took it over the top. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. It's snowing in Georgia, which is a really big deal. So we're about to have a really cozy day in the kitchen and enjoy this snowstorm. This morning I'm starting nice and early. I'm making some sourdough ciabatta, and my plan is to make Cuban sandwiches for dinner. So I'm gonna get some pork in the slow cooker, and we're gonna have a really delicious dinner today. So I'm starting off with 100 grams of sourdough starter in a bowl, and then 430 grams of cool water. This recipe for sourdough ciabatta is special because you can make it in the morning and it'll be ready in the evening for dinner. So into the bowl with the water and the starter, I'm gonna add a ½ teaspoon of yeast. I'm using active dry yeast here. So as long as you add it to some water, it will bloom and work beautifully. Now I'm gonna add 13 grams of salt. I'm gonna mill 200 grams of freshly milled flour. I have hard red wheat and kamut here. I usually just like to blend the two or do a combination of hard red with some ancient grains just to get a variety in there. I heard you're not supposed to mix on your scale or it can start to damage it over time. And I'm gonna add the freshly milled kamut and hard red wheat. We've got 198 grams. Okay. Okay, so you just want to get this incorporated. Doesn't need to be perfect yet. And I'm gonna cover this up and let it rest for about 30 minutes. What is a snow day without a slow cooker meal? So I'm gonna get started on one right now. Recently I made some pulled pork in the oven and it turned out so good. So today I'm kind of creating my own recipe and I'm making it in the slow cooker. And I'm gonna do like a citrus smoky pulled pork. And first we're gonna start with a spice blend. So ideally you would do this the night before and season your meat and let it
sit in that seasoning overnight, but I did not get to this last night, so we're just gonna do it today. I'm gonna do 3 tablespoons of salt, 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 2 teaspoons of chipotle powder. This is not super spicy, it's more just flavorful. 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika and a half teaspoon of pepper. I'm gonna mix this up. I'm also gonna add in some brown sugar. So the reason I'm using brown sugar is because it's gonna help the pork to caramelize. So I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons. All right. This baking sheet already had foil on it from like something I made earlier. So that's why it has foil on it. I wouldn't use foil normally just for seasoning meat.
It's actually a great idea to cut your pork in half so you have 2 large chunks, and then the seasoning gets all over the sides of both pieces and it cooks quicker and gets more tender easily.
All right, so now we're gonna turn on the slow cooker and start sauteing some onions and garlic. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this on saute. I love this slow cooker because you can saute things in it. I've got my pre-minced garlic from the freezer. I'm gonna do about, you want a lot of garlic for this, so I'm gonna do 2 squares, which I'm guessing is about 5 cloves of garlic. Okay, now this is the fun part. I'm gonna add a 1/3 cup of tomato paste. 1.5 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. 2 tablespoons of distilled white vinegar. Now you're gonna add a 1/4 cup of orange juice. Okay, so I'm not gonna add any broth or any liquid to this besides what I've already added. And I'm just gonna place the meat right on top of this. I'm hoping that it will kind of dry out and develop sort of like a caramelized crust as it slow cooks all day. So that's my goal. I'm probably gonna scoop some of this sauce over it as it cooks throughout the day. But since this is my first time making it, I'm gonna just see how it turns out, and we'll be on this journey together. But it looks so pretty. I love it. So now I'm gonna put it on low. Start over here for 8 hours. And that's it. Now I'm gonna clean this up and then check on my ciabatta. All right, so when you come back to it, it's gonna look kind of like that. And I'm gonna start the stretch and fold process. So with wet hands, I'm gonna grab one side of the dough, stretch it up, fold it over itself. Do the same thing with this side. And just keep doing that. I feel like this dough is not as wet as it's supposed to be for ciabatta, which is a little bit concerning to me because I thought it was a good hydration dough. If it doesn't work out, we'll just kind of keep playing around with it. I will keep playing around with it. Transfer this to a different container. And I'm gonna put this on a heating vent so it rises rapidly.
This isn't totally necessary, but I wanted to get my dough going and make sure that it would rise well, and our kitchen is pretty cold. So I just did this for the first hour.
All right, I took a little nap and now we're back in the kitchen, and my ciabatta has risen quite a lot. I don't know if you can see, but it has definitely doubled in size. At least it appears to have doubled in size. And this is a better view of it. I'm gonna go ahead and shape this. So with ciabatta, you don't wanna shape it. You basically just flour your surface really well, like lots of flour. Plop it onto this surface. Yes, dear. Oh wow, there's tons of bubbles in this. Let me try. There we go. This is looking more ciabatta-esque. It is snowing a lot. I don't know if I need to use this much flour, but since I haven't made ciabatta a whole bunch, I just want to make sure I do it right. This is looking very promising to me. It's a little bit trickier when you're dividing into 10 because it's hard to get them exactly even, but this is what I have. And then you just scoop them up and transfer them to a sheet pan lined with parchment paper. Now we're gonna cover and let this rest for another hour. The ciabatta in the oven now. I have the oven set to 475, and I'm also gonna spray the oven with some water to create some steam. Hopefully that works. Those ciabatta rolls are gonna bake for about 20 to 25 minutes. I'm gonna keep an eye on them. And now I'm gonna take this meat out and try and shred it. So this is the moment of truth because I'm just hoping it's nice and fork tender. It's not tender. It's really tough. I thought for sure after 7 hours on low that this thing would be tender by now, but it's not. Why? Someone tell me why. All right. Try not to be discouraged because I really wanted this to be perfect. All right, so anytime I can't shred meat, I just take my knife and cut it up and shred it like that. Once you get it into smaller pieces, you can start to shred it. And I know that if I let this meat rest a little bit more, it would shred more easily. I just don't have a lot of time because my ciabatta rolls are already in the oven. And everyone is hungry. I'm going to put it on a sheet pan, pour this sauce over it, broil it until it's crispy, and then I think we're gonna be golden. All right, let's see if I can just get this into smaller pieces. Maybe I should keep it like this because we're gonna put it in sandwiches. So it's actually not a terrible idea to have it in like these little shreds, like thin pieces. Those look amazing. All right, I'm taking my ciabatta rolls out, and these are going in. On the top rack, I'm going to broil it. for about 5 minutes. The temperature was probably a little too high on these, and I used a bit too much flour. There are some parts where you can like see the flour. So I'm learning here, and that's good to know. I'm gonna make these again and get my recipe locked in. So let me move this. They seem good though. They're not too hard. Seems like they have lots of good bubbles, and I'm so excited. Oh, wow. The meat looks incredible. So there you have it. We're ready for Cuban sandwiches. Beautiful. This is perfect. There's lots of air bubbles. It's soft, it's warm, it's fully baked, looks delicious. I think ciabatta might become my new go-to sandwich bread. I just have a feeling. And I had a bite of this meat with the sauce on it, and it was incredible. All right, so for a Cuban, you wanna put mustard on there, and I'm doing mayo. I'm also gonna do some mayo. This is gonna be so good. All right, so there it is. Let me go ahead and cut this. So in my opinion, things taste better if you cut it on a bias. This knife is not sharp enough right now, but let's see what it looks like. Bam. This looks incredible. Okay, there's one thing I forgot to do. I was gonna squeeze lime all over this pork after it came out of the oven, so I'm gonna do that right now. I feel like that little bit of lime is kind of like what brings this over the top. Okay, I'm ready to eat. This is incredible. Wow. There's so much good flavor in the meat, and then the mustard and the mayo and the pickles and the Swiss cheese, and all of it combined creates such a delicious Cuban sandwich. You guys must try this one. I'm definitely gonna put this one on the blog, and just know that if you slow cook it for probably another hour, I took mine out at 7 hours, and then you turn off the slow cooker and let it sit for a while, and don't shred it right away. It should fall apart easier than mine did. But either way, you can slice it up really thin and then take that sauce and like just pour it, tons of it all over the meat, and then broil it for about 5 minutes, and you're gonna get a crispy meat, and then squeeze the lime all over the top of it, and then create your Cuban sandwiches. You could also just serve this meat with other things like, I don't know, mashed sweet potatoes or whatever you think it would go good with. But that's our dinner tonight. I also think the ciabatta rolls turned out perfect. I would just tweak how much flour I used on the board and how hot and how long I baked it at. I think these are just minor little tweaks, but I'm super happy with how everything turned out, and I'm excited to document these recipes and get them on the blog, and I'm excited to have my family come eat. We're all really hungry, so we're gonna get to it. Just gonna take one more bite. So good. So good.
I truly cannot urge you enough to make this recipe. These Cuban sandwiches were incredible. I think it might be my favorite food now. We had this for lunches throughout the week. I ended up making more ciabatta rolls the next day so that we could continue eating this meat.
All right, the next recipe I'm gonna make is a chocolate muffin recipe that my sister gave me. It uses bananas mostly as the sweetener and a little bit of maple syrup. It also has a lot of flax in it for fiber. It's a pretty healthy snack muffin, so her kids apparently love it, so we're gonna try it out today. And if this is a good one, I'll go ahead and put the recipe on my blog. She sent me a picture of her written recipe, so I'm following that right now. All right, we need to start off, we need 500 grams of banana. Oh, I need a mixing bowl that's empty.
It's best if you use very ripe bananas with some brown on them. Mine weren't really quite as ripe as I wanted, but just mash them up as best as you can. Then you're gonna add in 2 eggs and 60 grams of maple syrup.
We need 60 grams.
She gave you eggs?
She gave me a recipe. She said her kids really like this.
It smells like banana.
Sure, give me a minute.
Are they
spoon? A generous teaspoon.
Can I mix?
For the dry ingredients, I have 175 grams of freshly milled flour. This is a mix of hard red and einkorn. It's just what I happen to have on hand. And then do 40 grams of cocoa powder.
This is what all that fiber comes in.
Then you'll add in 50 grams of ground flax meal.
Oh yeah, 50 grams.
Then add a teaspoon of baking powder, baking soda, and salt.
Why does it?
Okay, can you put this in?
There. Dish.
Fold in the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients, and my bananas were not very mushy, and so there were still some chunks, and honestly, it's okay. It's okay if your bananas are not super ripe. Just make it anyways, and you'll find out that people still like it. Then add in 2 tablespoons of whole milk.
Okay, you'll get a cup.
I just said that made me hungry.
I need a little touch more, just because we're using freshly milled flour, which can be a little bit thirsty.
Last but not least, a cup of chocolate chips.
Yum. I think it's gonna be delicious.
Cup of chocolate.
Yeah,
Hold on.
nice and chocolatey.
Not. Mom.
One,
2,
2. That was kind of small.
3,
3. Gonna be little snack muffins. 4. Wow.
Holy, this is a big one.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have enough for more. I guess we were supposed to do regular sized muffins.
Mom,
Yes.
I think I'm gonna have 1 mini and 1 big.
Yeah. I don't like these larger things. What are they called? Muffin liners. They're just kind of annoying. I like the regular ones. These are better for like cupcakes, but I had them. This is what I have right now. So that's what I'm using. I'm gonna get a different scooper. We just like making a pile of dishes, don't we? We just like collecting dishes, I think.
The muffins only need about 12 minutes to cook, and the larger muffins just a couple minutes more. And now I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my kitchen. I finished off this soup. I had some for lunch as well. There's just a little bit left. And now I'm gonna put that in the refrigerator, clean the pot, and now my mini muffins are finished. And let's check these out. I thought they turned out so good. Everyone loved them. They kept eating them all day. We didn't even have that many left over. And what's cool about this recipe is there's actually, I don't know if you noticed, but there's no fat or oil in the recipe. The bananas actually replace that, and it works out great. So this is your go-to healthy chocolate muffin if you want your kids to eat some more fiber, some bananas, maybe some freshly milled grains. You can also use all-purpose flour, so Don't be discouraged when I use freshly milled grains. They're almost always interchangeable with just very minor tweaks.
While my bread is cooking, I'm just gonna prep some veggies for the chicken pot pie filling that I'm gonna make. It's basically just the inside of a chicken pot pie, and then we'll serve it with biscuits. I'm going to season this chicken up with some salt, pepper, and Italian seasonings. And then I'm going to just sear this chicken. I'm going to put some butter in there and some olive oil and let that get nice and hot. All right, I'm just trying to get all my ingredients ready while things are cooking and baking. So I'm gonna do a cup of heavy cream, and then I'm pulling out my super cubes. I'm gonna get out 1 cup of chicken stock. I'm also gonna need some garlic.
Now my bread is finished, so I'm taking it out of the oven. I like to use a knife and carefully slice the sides of the pan just to make sure that the loaf is not stuck at all anywhere. Be careful here because you don't want to scratch these pans. They do have a coating on them that you don't want to scratch. And so now I just take it out, I put it on a cooling rack, and it's best if you let it cool down completely before you cut it. And so I'm gonna let it cool down some more before I cut into it and show you. And so I'm gonna move on to finishing my dinner prep. So I just cooked the chicken on the outsides. I just seared it. Now I'm cutting it up into little pieces. And can you believe it? I ran out of butter. I cannot believe that. So I used olive oil, but I would have done about 2 tablespoons of butter and a tablespoon of olive oil here. And then I did all of my veggies. I did a teaspoon of salt and some pepper, and just saute that until it's soft. Now I'm gonna push the veggies to the side of the pan, add in a little more fat. So you want some butter typically, because this is like a chicken pot pie filling. So I usually do like 2 more tablespoons, and then I add in a 4th cup of flour, mix that up to get the flour cooking a little bit, and then mix it into all the veggies. And then you're gonna add in the broth. So I only did a cup of broth, but the recipe calls for 2.5 cups. So this creates your base for the creamy sauce. So this will start to thicken up, and then add in your cup of cream. And by the way, I should mention here that there was a lot going on when I was cooking. I was in and out of the house picking up kids. So I forgot to add the garlic, so I added that in. I also forgot to add the potatoes. You're supposed to add the potatoes when you're sauteing the veggies near the end so that they start to soften up before you add in the liquid. So just keep that in mind. I'm adding some turmeric for color, some sage and thyme, and more salts. Just mix that up and then add in all of your chicken. And then here I ended up adding a cup of milk because it was too thick. But if you add the 2.5 cups of chicken broth, then you probably won't need to add any extra liquid. But if it's looking too thick, just add some extra cream or milk or chicken stock to get it to the right consistency. This is actually really easy and fun to make, and my whole family loves it.
So I'm gonna add in about a cup of these peas, or more. Basically just trying to add like half of this bag. They're kind of like freezer burned, but it's okay. We're still gonna like them. And then mix this in, and you have like a really rich, creamy, chicken pot pie filling. And the biscuits are still in the refrigerator. I have to go and get my girls from tennis, so I cannot bake those until I get home. But I knew I needed to go ahead and make this now because when I get home, there won't be time for me to do all this. So this is now ready, and if we wanted, we could just have the bread with this, but I already made the dough for the biscuits, so we're gonna proceed forward with that plan. Let me just make sure these potatoes are cooked. Not really, the potatoes need longer. Yeah, so I'm just gonna let this continue to simmer. Normally the potatoes go in when you're sauteing the veggies, like closer to the end. I forgot to do that, so that's why they're not quite ready.
So now my biscuits they've been in the refrigerator this whole time. I went and got my girls from tennis, I came home, and now I'm gonna quickly shape these and put them in the oven. Since it was getting late and we were all tired and hungry, I just decided to quickly cut these into squares or rectangles and just to bake them up like that. You can layer the dough and you get more flakes, but I was not gonna do that today.
I just wanted to make this super fast and easy, so I tried just cutting them into like squares. They definitely didn't turn out even, but I just don't want to deal with that tonight. Cooking should be fun, and so if it's causing you stress and it's not fun, then just do it in a way that makes it more fun for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and bake this in the oven at 450 for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and serve up dinner. Biscuits are done. They look okay. Not the prettiest. I can live with that. Chicken pot pie looks amazing. And there you have it.
Well, this was a delicious dinner, and I really think homemade food and homemade bread is not only good for the body, but also good for the soul and good for the whole family. This is such a comfort at the end of the day. And the biscuits did turn out amazing, by the way.
All right, so I'm about to make a jalapeno ranch with dill and chives and parsley, and I need to make some homemade mayo because that's gonna be part of the base of the sauce. And then I'm also gonna use sour cream. But first, I need to make mayo because I'm all out. I'm gonna do a tablespoon of distilled white vinegar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then I did 1 egg and about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And now I'm gonna fill it up with 3/4 of a cup of oil. I'm gonna do half avocado oil and half olive oil. All right, 1/4 cup of dill is going in the food processor, along with about a 1/4 cup of parsley. That's about right. I'm gonna put all these stems in my scrap bag in the freezer, and I use it when I make stock. While I'm at it, I'm just gonna chop up this parsley and put it in a container. All right, now I have 1 jalapeno. I'm going to remove the seeds, and this will go in the food processor. I'm just going to put 2 cloves of garlic in the food processor. Now I'm gonna add a 1/4 cup of sour cream into the food processor. Okay, and now a tablespoon of olive oil, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of distilled white vinegar. Okay, and then I've got about a 1/4 cup of chives. And now I need to make the mayo. Now we're gonna add a 1/2 cup of mayo.
and a 1/4 cup of water. Let's mix it up. Beautiful. It is a little bit watery, so I would actually just add 2 tablespoons of water or none and blend it up and see how it looks before you add water. But I'm gonna taste this. This will firm up a little bit more in the refrigerator. Yum, really good. I decided I'm gonna make some adjustments. So I'm gonna thicken it up by adding 2 tablespoons of sour cream. Then I'm also gonna add about a teaspoon or a 1/2 tablespoon of honey, because it's just a little sharp, and so that should help. So I'm experimenting with this recipe. I haven't tried it out yet, so we'll see how it turns out. But I wanted a like 100% freshly milled flour sourdough pizza crust recipe. So I'm trying to create one. I actually made dinner earlier in the day. It's only like 1 o'clock right now, and then I'm just gonna have it like ready to go for dinner. And that's what I've been doing a lot lately, just because the evenings have been really busy with sports and after school activities and things like that. So I can't always take the time to film and cook right at dinner time. So even in like regular life, when you're not having to worry about filming, it's a great method to getting dinner on the table. If you know that you're gonna be busy later in the day, just get it going earlier in the day, have it ready to go, and then all you have to do is reheat it around dinner time, and I do that a lot. All right, so I have 900 grams of freshly milled flour, the same ratio that I normally do for my honey wheat sandwich bread. So it's 600 grams of hard red wheat and 300 grams of kamut. Now you need a giant bowl and a scale, and I have a full measuring cup. We have 4 cups here of filtered water ready to go. So I'm gonna do 620 grams of filtered water. And my hope is that this will make 2 large pizzas or 3 medium pizzas. So I think this is the right amount for that. And then I'm gonna add 170 grams of bubbly active sourdough starter. Okay. I don't have enough. Let me see. I can scrape it. Can we stretch our way there? Almost. I'm gonna get like everything out of here. Oh yes, 170 grams. Actually 172. There. Now I need to refeed this so I don't run out of starter. I like to use a Danish dough whisk for this. So now I'm just gonna mix the water and the starter together so it's like milky. So now I'm gonna put it back on the scale, make sure we have everything, measurements right. I'm gonna do all of my flour, 20 grams of sea salt. I'm just wondering if it's like the right hydration. All right, so I have a bowl scraper. I feel like I'm gonna do more water. So I did 620 grams of water, and now I'm gonna add more, and I'm gonna do, let's see here. I'll end up doing 650, so let me add 30 more grams. And let's see if that does it. All right, I like that better. So it's pretty dense at this point. but I'm hopeful that this will work out. So now we just let time do the rest of the work for us. We'll come back to this later. All right, so I just fed my starter a half cup of flour, all-purpose flour, and now I'm adding about a half cup of water. And I'm just doing this to refeed it, and I'm gonna leave it on the counter for the rest of the night, and then I'll put it back in the refrigerator tonight. And that's just to keep my starter healthy. So I don't need to worry about it too much because I keep it in the refrigerator, but anytime I know that I wanna do some baking, I pull it out like the day before and give it a fresh feed overnight or early in the morning if I'm planning to bake like middle of the day. So you just need like 4 to 6 hours or so for it to start to reactivate. And anytime I feed it, I first discard all but 1 tablespoon because you don't want an overly sour and over fermented starter. So by doing that, you have a fresh young starter that is really healthy. And that's what I like to bake with. Okay, we are back. I'm gonna knead the dough a little bit, and then I'm gonna put it back into a clean bowl and let it rise. So I let the dough sit for like 45 minutes. Now we're gonna knead this. I feel like this batch might be a little big. And I also think it might be a little sticky. But we're gonna work on it. So I did a heavily floured board here. Yeah, I'm actually gonna separate this into 2 and let them rise in their own containers. Grease your bowls with olive oil. I did a little too much in there. All right, and now I'm gonna shape each dough ball into a round. Just looking at this dough, I think we actually have enough for 4 medium-sized pizzas. Just seems like it's definitely too much for 2 large pizzas. If you separate this into 2, then you'll end up with 4 kind of medium to small pizzas, or you could separate them into 3 and end up with 3 large pizzas. I'm also just gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil on top. And I want to coat the dough in the oil. There we go. Okay, now we wanna get a nice, warm, cozy environment. So I'm gonna cover it with some plastic wrap and let these rise for like 4 hours. All right, I will be back later and hopefully these rise. So what I'm looking for is that it rises in volume, and also I really would like to see some air bubbles. So when I get home later today, I'm hopefully gonna see some improvements in this dough. Okay, see you later, dough. When I came back and checked on it, it had risen a good bit and there were some bubbles on the bottom, but there would definitely be more bubbles if the room were warmer. So the fermentation does go faster in the summer. But now this is gonna go in the refrigerator for up to 3 to 4 days, and it will continue to ferment and even rise some. So I'm not gonna use this today, but now it's ready to go for a fast weeknight meal. It is a beautiful day. I have some beautiful sourdough pizza dough ready to be used, and I have some chicken, some barbecue sauce, some mozzarella cheese. So let's go ahead and make some pizza. First up, I have about 1 pound of chicken here, and I'm gonna bake it in the oven with some barbecue sauce, and this will go on top of our pizza. I'm gonna bake this chicken in my Taifer toaster oven. I just preheated it to 350 and I'm gonna do it about 30 minutes. I'll just check on it. Once it looks done, we'll pull it out. I took my dough out of the fridge about 30 minutes ago. As you can see, it's risen pretty well in the fridge over the past couple days. And even since I just took it out, it's risen some more. So this thing is active and that's good. Hopefully we'll get some good rise. So I really like to use these USA pans and make pan pizza.
I find it's just a really convenient way to do pizza nights. Now first, I'm gonna add a generous amount of olive oil, about a tablespoon into each pan. Looks like I need to get some more. All right, spread it around a little bit. Now I'm gonna take my pizza and put it into here, and now I'm gonna cut it in half. I usually use scissors, but I just used my scissors on the chicken, so don't really wanna use it on the dough. Okay, so I've already used this dough once, just yesterday. I was testing it out, and it turned out pretty good. I will say the pizzas were a little bit on the small side, so that's why I would suggest just dividing the dough into 3 portions instead of 4. But it's best if you have 3 containers and they're each shaped into a little round. I find that that's really the best setup for prepping pizza dough in advance. You can also prep it, let it ferment in the fridge up to 3 to 4 days. And you can also wrap it up in plastic wrap and stick it in the freezer. So there's a lot of flexibility here. This dough has been in the fridge for a couple days now. Okay, so you wanna gently stretch it out. So basically working sort of from the inside, you wanna gently kind of dimple and press the dough out towards the edges. This is kind of similar to the sourdough pan pizza recipe that I shared on my blog and on one of my videos, I don't know, I think it was a month ago. But the difference is this is made with 100% freshly milled flour, and the dough itself is just different. It's not as wet, it's kind of more like a standard pizza dough. So it's not the same as that really soft and crispy and bubbly pan pizza recipe that I have on my blog. This one is just more of a traditional pizza dough. So you can do it in a pan, or you could just shape it however you want and bake it however you want. But I just love the convenience of using these pans. Just bake it, plop it out, cut it into a bunch of pieces, and dinner is served. Anyways, now that I've shaped this, I'm gonna let these sit at room temperature and start to rise and bubble up a little bit more before I bake it. So I'm gonna wait about 30 minutes before I preheat my oven. So we'll just cover this up and take a break. All right, chicken is done. I'm just gonna prep some of my ingredients. So I'm gonna add cilantro at the very end. I'm doing 1 barbecue chicken pizza, and then the other one is just gonna be a traditional regular pizza. So let's cut up one of these. Okay, so I'm just gonna do slithers. And then I'm gonna cut these in half. Oh, that's so cool, Noah. This chicken looks good. I just want to eat it. All right, my oven is really hot now. I have it at 500. As soon as I put this in the oven, I'm gonna turn it down to 450. I just want it really hot when it goes in. And I'm gonna actually try and stretch the dough out just a little bit more without pressing it down too much. So this is kind of what we're working with. Okay. Now I want this crust to get a little crispy in the oven, so I'm gonna just give it a quick spritz of olive oil. I also wanna add some salt on this dough because I just wanna add some extra flavor. Okay, so I'm gonna par bake it in the oven for 5 minutes. And we wait. While we're waiting, I'm gonna pull out the cheese. I have some frozen mozzarella that I cut into slices. So I think I'm just gonna sort of break it up on top of the pizza and do it that way. I also have some shredded, so I'm trying to decide, maybe I'll do a little mix of both. Might be a good plan, so it's spread out more evenly. All right, here's my shredded mozzarella. I believe that's mozzarella. Yes. All right, so my daughter opened up this jar of marinara yesterday, so I thought I should probably use it up, which is why I'm doing 1 pizza regular and 1 pizza barbecue chicken. Okay, it's looking good. The marinara one first. The fun thing about pan pizza is the cheese can go all the way up to the edge. You don't really need like a crust, and it only makes it more delicious along the edges. All right, this first one's going in the oven.
After spreading a thin layer of barbecue sauce, top it with the cubed chicken and then top it with lots of mozzarella cheese, and then you can put the red onions right on top.
I'm actually trying to put the cheese like along the edges because I do want like a nice little crispy cheese thing. Like a crispy cheese crust, if that makes sense. And we got our red onions. I'm gonna do another spritz. All right, this is going in. My first pizza is done and it looks incredible. And get it right here on the cutting board. All right, now, if you're really being a perfectionist, you could put your pizza on a cooling rack. That way the bottom doesn't get soggy while you're waiting, because we have like a nice little crispy bottom here. And so if you put it on a cooling rack, it's gonna stay like that. Okay, second pizza is done. And it looks amazing. You guys probably remember this sauce. Well, I believe it might be a match made in heaven for this pizza. So we're just gonna drizzle it on top. Hi! Not too much so it doesn't get soggy at all. And top it with that cilantro that we chopped up earlier in the week.
All right, well, I'm gonna call this one a massive success. So this recipe, along with the pizza dough recipe, will be on my blog. So if you guys wanna try it out, please do, and let me know how it turned out for you. I remember when I first started my food blog to kind of accompany my YouTube channel, I put a lot of effort into it and really didn't expect anyone to head over there and read my blog, but I've been blown away by how many people are leaving comments, trying my recipes, leaving reviews, and loving the recipes. So I just want to say thank you. It's been so wonderful seeing that and really motivated me to keep creating.
Oh, can you let him in? All right, let's try it. No, come back. There's a line right now waiting for the pizza right behind the camera, so I'm gonna end this video right here. You guys can eat.
Now I'm making a ranch dressing. I have a half cup of homemade mayo, a half cup of Greek yogurt. I'm grating 1 large clove of garlic into that, then a half teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, then add a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and a teaspoon of honey and about a 1/4 teaspoon of freshly cracked black pepper. And then I'm gonna use my hand blender to really blend this up. But first I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of milk to thin it out. And after I've blended it, I'm gonna add the herbs. I did a total of 3/4 teaspoon of salt and then a teaspoon of dried chives and dried dill, and then about 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh chopped parsley. I added another half teaspoon of apple cider vinegar and then just a pinch of smoked paprika. Next, add 3 tablespoons of finely grated Parmesan cheese And there you have a ranch dressing that you can use on all sorts of things. And I'm gonna use this tonight to make a tangy ranch cabbage slaw to go with our barbecue chicken over sweet potatoes. I have 6 sweet potatoes. I'm gonna stab them with a fork, and then I'm gonna bake them at 450 for about 45 minutes. There's gonna be a clear, syrupy liquid coming out of the sweet potatoes when they're done. And now I'm gonna pull out the chicken left over from the other night, and then some barbecue sauce and a casserole dish. I'm just gonna dump the chicken in there and top it with about a cup of barbecue sauce. And we're gonna pop it in the oven when the sweet potatoes are almost finished cooking. I'm gonna use half a head of cabbage that I'm thinly slicing, and then I'm gonna pour over about a half cup of that ranch dressing, toss it around, and then add in an extra splash of apple cider vinegar. Then I also threw in the extra parsley I had left over, and that's it. Give it a little toss and you have a perfect side dish.
This is really good, and what I like about it is it's nice and tangy. So first you have the ranch dressing, which is good on its own, but then I just added a little splash of extra apple cider vinegar to the slaw, which just gives it a little extra pop, and I think it's gonna go well with the sweet potatoes and the barbecue chicken. So very simple dinner, very simple recipe, and with the extra cabbage, I'm probably gonna make a soup, or I'll make a small batch of sauerkraut, or later in the week I'll just make another slaw. But the good thing about cabbage is it does last a little bit longer than some other vegetables, so I'm just gonna put it in a bag, put it in my fridge, and I'll probably use it next week. And now, because we've made this slaw, we also have some extra ranch dressing, which I will keep in this jar, and we can use it for whatever. So this recipe is also gonna be on my blog, and I'm working actively on building up my library of recipes there. So we have a ranch dressing now. I want to do other dressings. We have homemade mayo on the blog, and I'm actively working on it along with filming my videos. So if you guys have been visiting my blog and trying out my recipes, I just want to say thank you. It means a lot to me, and I'm just excited to see how this website evolves and grows, and it's been really fun for me to document the things that I have been just kind of enjoying for years, and now I'm just getting it out on my blog, which is really exciting. All right, moving on.
That chicken actually looks really good.
It is gonna be good. It's barbecue chicken.
This meal was so easy and fun to make, especially because the chicken was already cooked and I just had to throw some barbecue sauce on it. I loved having a fresher and lighter meal with more veggies in it. And we used up the rest of that chicken, so nothing went to waste, which feels really good. We also used the whole bag of sweet potatoes that I got, so it just feels good to grocery shop and to fully utilize all the ingredients that you got, and this was really fresh, really simple, and delicious.
Yum.
So first I'm making yogurt. I'm using A2 organic whole milk that I got from Costco. I have recently discovered that this milk works the best for homemade yogurt. Now, if you're using regular whole milk that's not organic or UHT pasteurized, you do need to heat up your milk to 180 first. for about 10 minutes and then let it cool down to 110 degrees before mixing in your yogurt culture. But if you're using UHT organic milk, which is ultra high temperature pasteurized, you actually don't even need to do this first step. You can put it right into the Instant Pot and add your cultures.
So I saved a little bit of yogurt from our last batch so that I could use it for this next batch. So I had to put it away so that no one would eat it. So we are now gonna mix our yogurt culture into our milk and then put it in the Instant Pot so it can culture over the next 9 to 10 hours. Oh, it's actually just perfect. It's 110, exactly. So you need a separate container. We're gonna put about 1 cup of the warmed milk in here, and we're gonna add our yogurt culture and then mix it up.
What's a whisk?
Remember that tool you had a minute ago?
Yay!
Make sure you mix in the yogurt really well so there are no clumps, and then add it to the whole batch of milk. And then we're gonna put this in the Instant Pot and select the yogurt function, and that will keep it warm for us, and it will turn into yogurt.
So I'm adjusting the temperature to 109 degrees instead of 110 because I just like that better. And we're gonna culture this for 11, maybe 10 hours. Let's do 10 hours. Well, let's set it for 11 and check it.
All right, so back to my homemade yogurt. So I took the entire pot of yogurt after it finished culturing. I put it in the refrigerator. I was done for the day. I didn't have to do any more work. And then the next day, I took the yogurt and poured half of it in a Greek yogurt strainer, strained it almost, I think I did overnight. And then I transferred it to a glass jar, and then I did it again for the other half of the batch. So it does take, a day or two to finish the whole process, but it's so hands-off. You're just basically straining and then pouring it into a dish. I like these 7-cup Pyrex dishes. They work perfect for this batch of yogurt. So it's a gallon of yogurt, but then we strain it and divide it into 2 7-cup glass containers here. For half of the batch, I flavor it with 1/3 cup of maple syrup and 2 teaspoons of vanilla bean paste. This makes a perfect vanilla flavor, in my opinion. It's sweetened just the right amount and has a wonderful flavor. So my kids like to eat this for breakfast. They like to put berries on it. And then my husband likes to eat plain yogurt and put fruit in it. So that's why I like to have plain yogurt also. But I also like to have plain yogurt on hand. Sometimes I'll put some superfood jam in there, maybe a little bit of peanut butter. It's just a very handy kitchen basic to have in your refrigerator. And of course, I have to label the plain yogurt for my husband so he doesn't eat the vanilla yogurt. You can also use 1/4 cup of that plain yogurt to use it as a culture for the next batch of homemade yogurt.
And this is definitely the best chicken teriyaki I've ever had in my life. When I first made it, I was blown away by the flavors. What did I just make? So I'm gonna make that first, and the air fryer is really perfect for making this chicken. It gets it really caramelized and perfect. And I'm gonna use my air fryer for most of the recipes in today's video, but just keep in mind that you can also use your oven at a high temperature with the convection fan on, and it kind of has a similar effect as the air fryer. You won't get the exact results, but you will get a very similar result. All right, so the first thing we need to do is get out our chicken thighs. I'm using boneless, skinless chicken thighs here. And I'm gonna get this out and I'm gonna pat them dry. I had these thawing in the refrigerator overnight, but they're still frozen. Not too bad. I think they're gonna thaw pretty quickly here. So I'm just gonna separate them and get them flat on this cutting board so that they're able to thaw out a little faster, and I'll season these. Okay, now what I find really helps with this, especially if your chicken is a little bit frozen, is you take your paper towel and just like press down, and we're getting the chicken really flat, and because it's a little bit frozen, it's actually easier to like flatten this chicken. So this is drying it out a little bit and getting it thinner, which we want. So now I'm gonna come in with some garlic powder and get it really well. Then just a little bit of salt. You don't need much because the sauce is gonna be pretty salty. And then fresh cracked black pepper. I'm not even gonna season the other side right now because I don't wanna touch this again and have to dry it out again. So I'm just gonna let it sit and marinate in this seasoning. Okay, so now we're gonna make an incredible teriyaki sauce. And I'm gonna start by mincing up a little bit of ginger and 3 cloves of garlic. So if you first cut this into thin slices, it'll be easier to mince this because we wanna mince this really finely. Because all of this ginger is gonna end up in your sauce. Then you want 3 cloves of garlic, also very thinly minced. Next, you're gonna grab a saucepan. We're gonna turn this on, and we're gonna heat up 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm using avocado oil. Then you're gonna go ahead and add in your ginger and garlic. And what we're doing here is just blooming these flavors. So this is gonna cook for about 3 minutes on medium-low until it's really fragrant. This teriyaki sauce recipe is from Life by Mike G on YouTube. I absolutely love this recipe and I'm gonna share it with you. So for the sauce, you want equal portions of soy sauce, mirin, and sake. This was kind of hard for me to find, so I had to look around for it, but I've made it once already. I have this much left, and because I need equal portions of everything, I'm gonna measure this out and find out how much we have here. Smelling really, really good. Okay, and now we have the sake going in. And I'm gonna bring this heat higher because I wanna bring this to a boil for that alcohol to burn off. Now I'm gonna add the mirin. And 3/4 cup of soy sauce. Okay, so basically you want to boil this for 5 minutes to burn off the alcohol, and then we're going to keep simmering it until it's reduced to about 1/3 of the volume, and then this sauce will be almost finished. Now I have used coconut aminos for this before, which is considered like a healthier alternative to soy sauce, and it turned out great. However, it was sweeter, almost too sweet. And so what I did to balance it out was I added about 1 tablespoon of rice wine vinegar, and that pretty much fixed it. But if you want to use coconut aminos for this, you can. Whew. You can definitely tell the alcohol is still in there, so we want that all to like evaporate. 2 cups of rice, 3 cups of water. I'm going to start it on high until it boils, and then I'm going to turn it down to a very low simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, in my opinion, this is reduced enough. And I'm actually gonna move my rice to my back burner because it can go a little faster back there, getting that boiling. Okay, so now I need cornstarch. All right, we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of cornstarch mixed with 4 tablespoons of water. Mix that up to create a slurry. And then I'm going to turn the heat back on here. And we're going to mix in this slurry, and it's going to thicken this sauce. Okay, so with the heat on, you're going to stir this, and then it'll start to thicken up. And once it looks really glossy and thick, we'll turn off the heat. It's already starting to get thick here. And there you have it. And to finish it off, you can add about 1 tablespoon of sesame seeds. You don't have to, but I think it's a nice addition. And there we have it. This teriyaki sauce you can put in a container, store it in your fridge, and use it on so many different things. But I'll show you how we're gonna use it on our chicken here in a minute. Can you see this? Chicken teriyaki. So I haven't made it with soy sauce before. I made it with coconut aminos the first time, so I need to try this. Definitely like saltier, whereas with the coconut aminos, it was sweeter. And honestly, I like the coconut aminos better. So if you were to make this, I would suggest to do the equal parts coconut aminos, sake, and mirin, and then finish it off with a tablespoon of rice vinegar, which I'm actually gonna do. I think this could use it. I'm also gonna add a teaspoon of sugar, so that should make it similar to the one I made the first time. Teriyaki sauce is supposed to be sweet. It's a sweet sauce, but it's also very salty. So we're gonna use it to marinate the chicken and as a drizzle over the chicken, broccoli, rice, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's already better. I'm gonna do a little more sugar. See, when I did the coconut aminos, I didn't need to add any sugar to this. So it's probably the healthier option. You could also add honey. There's nothing wrong with that. It's still not sweet enough to me. I wish I had made it with the coconut aminos, but I can't go back now and change it. I don't have any more sake or mirin. So now I'm gonna add a teaspoon of honey. So I have 2 teaspoons of sugar and a teaspoon of honey. I honestly think it might need just a little more. The first time I made this, it was like seamless. It worked out perfect. Everything was delicious. And of course, when I'm filming, I have to keep tweaking this until it's right. So a total of 2 teaspoons of honey. So 2 teaspoons of sugar, 2 teaspoons of honey, a tablespoon of rice vinegar. That's all the additions I added to this when I used soy sauce. When I used coconut aminos, all I added was a tablespoon of rice vinegar. My chicken is almost completely thawed now. Gonna have a little bit more garlic on this side. The type of mirin I used is not an authentic mirin, but this is what's readily available at the grocery store. So I thought that would be good for me to note. If you're able to source out a authentic mirin, which is like an actual cooking wine, I would suggest that you do that because I know it's gonna taste even better. I just ran to my local grocery store. I went to the international section and this is what they had. I do think that to get an authentic mirin, you have to go to like a liquor store. So I just thought I would throw that out there so you're aware of it. I don't like it when I have ingredients that are really hard to source. So like this is made with glucose syrup, water, alcohol, rice, and salt, which is not technically a true mirin. So for recipes where so much of the mirin is being used, it's good to try and get a more authentic version of it. But either way, last time I made this, it was the bomb. So don't worry if you don't wanna deal with all that. All right, I'm using this tasty air fryer today, 17 minutes. All right, I'm just gonna put these in here and I'm gonna make sure I don't crowd the chicken. I got this cooking spray specifically for the air fryer because it really helps to get your food even more crispy if you give it a quick spray with olive oil. All right, so this is going in. You can already see that it's developing color in there. While that is cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up this broccoli nice and thin. I'm gonna include the stem or stalk, and I think it all tastes good and it's all edible. right, I have 1 minute left, but it looks done. Oh my goodness, these look incredible. All right, so now I'm gonna take the chicken fat and I'm gonna try to collect it into this pan. There's not a lot in here, but I wanna get as much as I can, so with each batch, I'll pour a little more in, and I'm gonna cook the broccoli in that.
I added a little bit more of that fat with the flavor in it into the pan and a little bit extra olive oil, and I'm searing my broccoli for a few minutes just until it develops some color and it's bright green, and then I'm gonna turn off the heat. Now I'm gonna serve up this bowl with some white rice and then just add some broccoli in there, slice up that chicken, and then drizzle a little extra teriyaki sauce on top. This meal is so good. The flavors in the chicken are next level, and then the sauce is amazing. Just a little bit drizzled on top is all you need. I'm so glad I learned this recipe and this method because I used to try to make chicken teriyaki and it was just a mess and it did not taste good. So I feel like this is a more authentic, clean, and simple recipe, and it tastes amazing. I'll definitely be making this many, many more times. My family loved it, and it's also great for meal prep. You can make that teriyaki sauce ahead of time and just keep it in a container in your fridge. And then whenever you're ready, you can marinate some chicken and then just cook it up real quick. Throw some broccoli on a skillet, and there you go. You have a delicious meal. I'm gonna put the extras in a container, and we can eat this for lunches or dinners throughout the week. This is great if you have a busy week and you know you're not gonna be available to cook dinner. You have something ready to go and on hand.
I'm gonna get started on dinner now. I'm actually out of onions, so I'm using one little shallot that I have. But I'm gonna make a recipe that I made a few months ago, and it turned out so good that I thought I really need to share it with you guys. And I'm gonna use this Italian sausage that I've had in my freezer for a bit. I got it from Costco, and I had it in there specifically so I could make this pasta dish again. It's pretty simple, but it's actually extremely simple. So if you're looking for like an easy weeknight meal, this is it. And it just like turned out so like full of flavor. I was very surprised, I'll just say that. I don't have an onion, I don't have quite enough cream, but I think I have enough of the main ingredients to make this work. So basically what you do is you saute the sausage. I'm gonna cut it up into pieces. And then I'm going to take the sausage out and saute the veggies, and then I will add in the tomato sauce and cream and some Parmesan, and then I'm gonna cook up some pasta and mix the pasta in with all of that, and it turns out to be just a really flavorful pasta dish. Hopefully that makes sense, but I'll show you. So I'm cutting up 2 to 3 carrots is what I think I did last time. Cutting them up into small pieces, as small as I can get them. I didn't quite cut them small enough, so I'm gonna go even further with it. You don't want there to be like large chunks. You just want it to blend in well with the sauce. It's gonna add some sweetness and some crunch. I usually don't peel my carrots. It depends on the recipe, but typically not. And I do wash them, but if you're buying organic carrots, it's totally fine. And it's okay if there's a tiny bit of dirt on the skin still. That's actually good for you. So a lot of times people ask me if why I don't peel my carrots. I actually learned that eating a little bit of dirt is really good for you and for your gut and your microbiome and all that good stuff. I'm gonna add a few ribs of celery too. I didn't do this last time. I'm only doing it just to add in some extra veggies. Just throwing all the scraps in my stasher bag. This lives in my freezer and I make stock with it. Last up, I think I'm gonna do 4. Basically, you just wanna cut this into bite-sized pieces. It's still a little frozen. I actually kind of like taking the skin off. I don't love that. Putting this in the pot, it's not even hot yet, but it's gonna start to heat up and the fat will render out as it cooks. All right, now I need to boil some water and cook up some pasta. I'm gonna take some of this out and cook the veggies in the fat here. I'm gonna add a half teaspoon of salt to this. So what makes this recipe so easy is I'm gonna use a jar of Rayo's tomato sauce. That's basically it. I'm gonna probably add a little splash of sherry. You can also do white wine vinegar. And then I'm gonna add the rest of my heavy cream. I probably only have like a 1/4 cup in here. I think last time I did more, but we'll see how it turns out. And then I also am gonna add some Parmesan, which is in here somewhere. I shredded it and froze it. Let me double check. Oh, I forgot I need to add garlic. Let me do that real quick. Just a little bit. My Parmesan. All right. I believe it's outside. Oh my gosh, there's ice all over this. Okay, let me go grab that. Okay, yes, I have shredded Parmesan here and our pasta. So I think my water is boiling. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in. Almost. All right, this definitely is done. I'm gonna deglaze the pan with a splash of sherry vinegar or cooking wine. I think I'll do a little more. Smells delicious. Wow, I can tell I'm gonna love this. I'm gonna do some fresh cracked black pepper. And then this sausage, it's just really good. There's a ton of flavor in it. There's a lot of sage, I think. So that really adds to how delicious this turns out. If your sausage isn't really that great, you could add some extra sage, dried sage, and I think that would do the trick. And maybe also some fennel. Now I'm gonna pour in this jar. Okay, and when my pasta's done, we're gonna mix it in, and we're also gonna add cream. But first, let's cook the pasta. So this front burner is my best burner. It's the hottest one. So I'm just gonna move this pot over. I don't need that to be quite as hot now. And I'm gonna move my pasta pot up here so we can speed this along. It's almost boiling. Yeah, it should be ready in about 15 minutes.
Okay, I'll work out afterwards then.
Yeah, you'll have lots of energy because it's a pasta dish.
Oh, nice, nice. It honestly smells amazing.
Yeah, doesn't it?
It smells like amazing.
It smells so good.
Oh, can't wait to eat it.
Felicity said the same thing. She came in and she was like, oh, what are you making?
There's nothing in the pot.
Yeah, that's dinner, honey.
What is this, hook?
Yeah, it's hooked. What do you mean? It looks amazing.
Yeah, I know. There we go, the best part. Yeah, it's so nice.
All right.
Boom.
Boom. I'm gonna let this pasta cook and slowly fit into the pot. I heard once that you kill an Italian somewhere if you break your pasta. So I will not be doing that. Okay, cook. We're ready to eat. We're hungry. Always save some pasta water because you might need it later to loosen up a sauce, and it also adds lots of flavor. So now you just mix in the sauce, but I'm gonna add a half cup of Parmesan finely shredded, and I'm assuming this is a 1/4 cup, but ideally you would add a half cup of heavy cream. I wish I had more. And then you just want to stir, 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 and it should, hopefully, the sauce kind of thickens a little bit. Yeah, it's starting to thicken. So it's kind of like emulsifying. And if it's looking too thick, you add your pasta water, which is right here.
What's that smell? Fried chicken?
Wow, everyone likes the smell tonight. Pasta.
Where's the sausage?
It's in there. Sausage is in there.
I'm just gonna eat the sausage.
You guys ready for dinner? Does it need more?
So good.
Is it too salty?
No.
I think it needs more cream, but we don't have it. So this is it. We're done. Oh. There you have it. Super flavorful. Thank you. We also need forks for everyone. Cheers.
You want more? Okay.
Oh.
Yummy in my tummy.
Here's our bounty from today's work.
I got one. Look at my mustache. Look at my mustache.
Oh my gosh, Noah. So these need to sit out basically all night, and then the lids are supposed to like tilt inwards. That's how you know it has sealed. After dinner, I usually crave something sweet, and recently I made the most delicious smoothie. It was basically a cherry banana vanilla ice cream. It was really thick, so delicious. And so I have to make it for you because I can't not share this discovery. 1 frozen banana, about 1 cup of frozen cherries. I don't know why these are not as frozen as they should be. The juice of 1 lime and half of a lemon. It's like my new favorite treat. 1 scoop of Simply Vanilla protein powder from Clean Simple Eats. The flavor is just phenomenal. All right, last but not least, about 1/3 to a half cup of yogurt. I'm just kind of taking a little guess here. Just for a little probiotics and creaminess. A little bit of ice and a little bit of water, just enough to get it to blend. I try and do as little as possible. I need to thicken it up. I did more water this time, which changed the consistency, but let's see. Okay, it's still kind of like ice cream. The key is you just want it to be really thick so you can eat it like ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good, you guys. It is absolutely delicious.
Don't take all of it.
You want some? It's hard to scoop it into a little cup. It's so good. This is my dessert of choice. Cheers.
At the end of the day, I always like to make some tea and just sip on it throughout the evening. I've been doing spearmint and also turmeric root and just adding it to my little tea container and steeping it in some hot water. I've also been adding this Sleepy Time chamomile blend. It actually all tastes really good together, but I'm not picky about what I put in here. I think just getting any blend of herbs is good. And so I try to mix it up. Sometimes I do milk thistle, which is great for detoxification. I'll just blend it up in my little spice grinder and add it in there, but you can really use anything. And I think drinking tea is just a wonderful habit. I finally I have a lot of fresh produce right now. I bought actually too much cilantro and some other things, and I just want to go ahead and use them up. So I'm going to start off this video by making loaded veggie burritos. I canned these black beans myself. Love having these on hand. First things first, I need to go ahead and roast these potatoes. So one of my favorite things to do is not go to the grocery store. So I love doing videos like this where I cook through what I find in my fridge and my pantry. Thankfully, right now, I'm already pretty well stocked with produce. I also have some frozen meat I'm thawing right now, which I plan to use tomorrow. And I have a pretty well-stocked kitchen. So I'm not working with nothing here, but the idea is cooking with what you have instead of going to the grocery store for little things here and there all throughout the week, because that can really add up. And I think it also stretches your cooking skills and your cooking abilities when you come up with meals based on what you have. And some of our favorite meals are the ones we came up with on a whim like that. So I have some brown rice cooking here. I need to turn it down. And that was actually the last 2 cups of brown rice that I had. I had this stray package of brown rice, and today I'm using it up, and I think it'll go really well in veggie burritos. I don't use brown rice as often as I use white rice. So I just had this rice hanging out in my pantry for a while, and I thought this is the perfect recipe to use this up. I went ahead and cut these sweet potatoes into little, almost like matchsticks, and I'm gonna roast them with some olive oil and some salt, doing about a little bit more than a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna add a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. I'm also gonna do some chipotle powder. I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle some on there, and some black pepper. So these sweet potatoes are kind of like the meat of the burrito, along with the black beans and the rice. I'm gonna put these in the oven at 400 for about 15 to 20 minutes. We'll just have to see how they're doing. All right, next up, the corn salsa, or more like a corn salad. All right, so I'm gonna just try to cut off the fresh corn right into this bowl. While it's a little easier to cut it on a cutting board, doing it into the bowl just keeps everything contained really well. All right, so now I'm gonna cut up a little bit of red onion. I don't want too much, because I don't want this to be like too spicy. Probably that much. Now, if you're worried about this being a little too sharp of a flavor, you can run this under cold water and it kind of gets rid of that sharpness that you have in onion. I do it sometimes. And then for the jalapeno, go ahead and get rid of the seeds. Try not to touch them. So if you don't want to add that, that's fine, but I do like the extra flavor. I'm gonna go ahead and add this to the bowl. Cilantro, I've already washed this. You want about like a small bunch or like a 1/2 cup of chopped cilantro. Okay, it's going in. These have been in here about 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and give them a flip. Moved my bowl over where we have more light. I'm doing 2 tablespoons of homemade mayo. You can do a little more if you like it creamy, extra creamy. Then I'm doing 2 tablespoons of sour cream. I'm doing heaping tablespoons. Gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, and my favorite, a 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. I'm also gonna add 1 teaspoon of honey. And now the juice of 2 limes. Okay, now let's give it a mix. Okay, so after tasting it, I'm gonna add 1 more tablespoon of mayo, a little bit more salt, so probably a ½ teaspoon total. I'm doing 2 more scoops of sour cream, bringing that to a 1/4 cup of sour cream. And I would probably only add a ½ teaspoon of honey because this corn is actually pretty sweet. I don't know if it's just this one because normally my corn isn't as sweet as this. So maybe start with a ½ teaspoon and see, or start with none and see if you think it needs it. Okay, I knew there was something I forgot. It's the garlic. I was like, what is this missing? Garlic. So I'm gonna actually grate 2 cloves of garlic into the bowl. Grating is like the best way to use garlic in a dressing because all that flavor gets in there so much better than if you were to mince it. When you grate it, it kind of like extracts the juices also. Okay, this corn salad is delicious on any type of taco. I love making it anytime we have tacos, I like to add this in there as an extra topping, and my family always thanks me for it. All right, they look pretty good, but I'm just gonna broil them to get them a little bit more crispy. Put them up high. Just like a couple minutes, 3 minutes maybe. So now I need my food processor. I'm gonna make a delicious green sauce. We're just basically gonna load up these burritos with tons of stuff. All right, I have my notes here of how I like this sauce, and let's go ahead and make it. First, we're gonna put an avocado into the food processor. Okay, I can smell my potatoes. I need to get them out. A little bit overcooked, not too bad though. Next up, I don't need red onion. I need a cutting board. All right, so into this food processor, we have an avocado. I'm adding 1 jalapeno with the seeds removed, 2 cloves of garlic. Now I'm gonna add in a handful or a ½ cup of parsley and cilantro. I'm gonna keep these stems and put them in the freezer for when I make chicken stock. Parsley is really, really healthy. So anytime I can use it in a recipe, I try to. What's going on here? I'm gonna try to cut off some of these stems, but it's not a big deal. You can include some of the stems. I just did a big old handful. And now we're gonna do a big old handful of cilantro. Now I'm gonna add a 1/3 cup of salted roasted pistachios, a 1/3 cup of Greek yogurt, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and the juice of 1 to 2 limes, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a ½ cup of water. All right, let's see how this looks. And there you have it. This stuff is amazing. I love putting this on burgers. It pairs really well with sweet potatoes, and we're just gonna add it to our burrito tonight. We have a little problem. My rice is looking really gnarly. I don't know what I did. I mean, I soaked it for like an hour before I cooked it, but it's basically mush. This is brown rice, so I did not expect for it to like cook to that level. This is like mush. I don't think anyone's gonna wanna eat this. I'm beginning to think that maybe this was like
a brown rice that was one of those like quick cooking versions. And so I was thinking it needed 45 minutes. So I actually am not gonna use it. I'm sorry guys, that's not gonna work. But I think, yes, I have some rice in here. I think I might have enough. Okay, we're still in business. See, it's fine. This is why I need to meal prep rice and have some in the freezer that's pre-cooked, because sometimes we just need rice. All right, the last thing I'm gonna do here is cook these black beans in just a little bit of olive oil. And I'm also gonna chop up the rest of this red onion that I have and saute it in here. All right, I've got 1 clove of garlic. I'll put it in there with the onions. Here is my canned black beans. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this open. I have a hard time sometimes figuring out the way to do this. It's like confusing to me. Is it this way? There we go. Very proud of my canned black beans. I'm gonna put it in here, sauce and all. I'm gonna add this seasoning. Let's try this. Oh shoot, it's way too salty. Wow, tonight is not my night. I need to salvage this. I'm overconfident tonight. This is embarrassing. We're rinsing off all the seasonings because I realized the beans were really salty and I didn't need to add a whole seasoning packet that already had a bunch of salt in it. So we're gonna try this again. I wonder if it just doesn't need anything. I'm gonna try it. Yeah, I'm not gonna add any seasoning to this. It's already salty, it's already seasoned, it's good. It's coming together. All right, let's go ahead and build this burrito. First, I gotta put this in some sort of container. I'm using these tortillas tonight. I just got them at Costco. They were on sale. They're not perfectly healthy. There are some ingredients I don't love in that, but it's a good option for when you just want a ready-to-go burrito tortilla. Now, if you want to go through the extra effort, I would suggest doing that, adding a little bit of cheese, let that melt, and then loading it up. The rice first. In my head, this was gonna be like a nice, beautiful brown rice, but that's not the case. We're gonna need more. Then add in some of your beans. And add in your sweet potatoes. Your awesome green sauce. Some corn salsa, or corn salad. I need to figure out names of everything. Here's a beautiful veggie burrito. There you have it. Okay, well, my kitchen is officially a disaster now, but I think it was worth it. Let me try this. It was worth it. I think I could have loaded this up even more. So I'm just gonna add some toppings on the side. Even this dipped in that is amazing.
I'm gonna have some of these recipes on my blog, so I'll leave a link in the description.
I'm gonna make birria tacos. So I'm gonna start with a giant chuck roast here, and I'm gonna sear it, I'm gonna braise it, and I'm gonna use spices that I have on hand. This isn't like a truly authentic birria because I don't have the whole dried peppers, but I do have some ground spices that should work well. I have ground guajillo, which is kind of like a staple in birria from what I understand. I also have smoked paprika, I have some ancho chili powder, I have cinnamon sticks, I have allspice, I have cloves, and other basic braising ingredients. So let's see if we can make a delicious, flavorful meat. And then later today, I'm gonna make tacos with it, and I think it's gonna be so good. So you're gonna need a large, heavy cast iron Dutch oven pot for this. I prefer the enameled kind. I'm using a stove. Lodge also makes one. Mine is 7 quart. And I actually used to have the Lodge one, but it didn't last me as long. The enamel started to come off. So that's why I have a stove. And I will say, just from my personal experience, that it is far superior, and it's definitely my favorite thing to cook with. So we're gonna turn this on in a minute, but first I need to season the meat. So I have about a 4-pound chuck roast here. It's pretty big. So I'm gonna do a lot of salt. I'm gonna do about 1.5 tablespoons on this side, and then I'll do 1.5 tablespoons on the other side. You do wanna try to like rub it in and get it into the meat, okay? And if you can do this the day before, that's even better, but I usually don't do that. This is kosher salt. Don't use sea salt when you do this, and if you do, use less because your meat will end up way too salty if you use sea salt instead of kosher salt. All right, so let's turn this on. I'm gonna use olive oil. We're gonna sear the meat first. And then after we sear the meat, I'm gonna take it out and saute the veggies and all the spices, add the meat back in, add in the broth, and then we're gonna put it in the oven, this is my favorite way to cook. I love cooking things in this pot and slow cooking it in the oven. It just turns out so good. So I'm gonna turn on the oven right now to 300. Let me make sure, yeah, that's set up good. You have to make sure you have room, that your racks are set up at the right level so your pot can fit. Once it's hot, you can add in your meat. This is gonna be hard to add in. This is how I like to cut my onions. I like to cut it through the root, and then I like to cut some slits, but don't cut all the way to the root. And then when you cut it, it's like already diced. So it's the easiest way to cut an onion. So the root kind of holds it together. You do want a sharp knife. This can be dangerous if your knife is not sharp enough. For the garlic, I'm just gonna smash it. Now add in your onion. So now I need to add the garlic. Garlic doesn't need long. I'm gonna add in 2 heaping tablespoons of tomato paste. All right, now we're gonna add in a ton of spices. I'm gonna do 2 tablespoons of ground guajillo pepper. I just got that from Azure Standard. 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika. And I have the heat on low right now. 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1.5 teaspoons of oregano, 1 teaspoon of ancho chili powder. Hope this isn't too spicy. No, I think it's good. Now I'm gonna do a few whole cloves. Just put them in there. And then I have whole allspice here. So I'm gonna add in, I guess, about, I don't know, 6 or 7. Add in 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, a whole cinnamon stick, all right, I'm gonna first add in 2 cups of broth. And I'm gonna add my meat back in here. Okay, so you want the liquid to come up a half of the way up the meat. So I'm just trying to make sure it's enough. I think it is. Now we're gonna cover it tightly with a lid. So before I do stick it in the oven, I'm gonna bring it to a boil first, but I do think I did too many cloves, maybe too much allspice. So I'm just gonna fish it out and make sure I didn't do too much, only because of the kiddos. I don't wanna accidentally overdo it. So I'm taking out 3 whole allspice, and then I'm gonna see if I can fish out some of the cloves. Probably not a big deal, I mean, they're so small, but I just don't know like how much flavor they're gonna impart in the whole dish. There's another one. I feel better about that. Turned off the heat and now putting it in the oven. All right, we're back from getting my kids from school and now my meat is done. I'm gonna make some corn tortillas real quick. It might be loud in my house because my kids are home. So first, I'm gonna take this meat out of the oven. It looked amazing before I left. I turned off the oven and just left it, and now I'm just gonna take it out. So it's been sitting in this oven with the oven off for the past, I don't know, 45 minutes or so. And I'm just gonna start to let it cool down a little bit. Okay, so now corn tortillas, pretty easy to make. So I'm gonna do 2 cups of masa harina. One. Two. Now I'm adding a half teaspoon of salt. And I have water warming up. And I need 2 cups of warm water. So it doesn't need to be boiling or anything like that, just warm. But I'm gonna start with 1.5 cups and knead the dough and see how it turns out. Because every flour is different. So my flour might respond differently than your flour. So you could start with 1.5 cups, slowly add more until the texture is right. So from what I understand, basically, the texture should be soft like Play-Doh. And you can make a little ball in your hands and then press it flat. If it crinkles and breaks on the edges, then you know it's not wet enough. So as long as your flour is hydrated enough, then it shouldn't break when you're folding it and making tacos out of it. So let's see how we do here. So mix with a spatula until you're able to start kneading with your hands. So it really shouldn't stick to your hands too much, which mine is still pretty sticky. Let's see. Yeah, no. Still pretty sticky, so I'm just gonna let it rest for about 20 minutes. Just gonna go ahead and cover that up and let it rest. Meanwhile, let's see what we got going on with our meat. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, amazing. That's incredible. That's why you braise meat. It becomes like this. Still got some nice crispy parts from cooking in the oven, but the lid was on the whole time. With birria tacos, typically you dip the tortilla in the fat and then you put the meat in there and you put it on the skillet,
with some cheese. And so it's like crispy and almost like a fried taco. I don't know if I have enough liquid here to do that, but I'm gonna try. Get rid of the cinnamon stick. I just tried the meat and it's so good. I'm feeling like a proud mom right now. Turned out so good. The only thing is it's a little spicy, and I think that was from the ancho chili powder. I felt like that was too much ancho chili powder. Yeah? Oh wow, good job. So I think next time I just won't even add the ancho, or do like a half teaspoon or even a quarter teaspoon just for that little extra flavor. But because I have kids, I really need it to be kid friendly. So yeah, but it's good. It's got a very interesting flavor. It tastes like the birria tacos I remember having at a Mexican restaurant once. So I'm feeling pretty pleased with it. Let's see if we can take this one all the way to the finish line, fry up some corn tortillas, put some mozzarella cheese in there, and have an authentic, maybe authentic, slightly authentic Mexican dinner. All right, it's like a mountain of meat. A mountain of meat. It's a lot. I do have a good bit of grease, fat in the bottom of the pan. I don't know if you can see. So that is what we're gonna use. We're gonna dip our tortillas in that and then fry it. All right, some things we're gonna need. I've got my Maiden carbon steel skillet, which is kind of like cast iron, a little different, but we're gonna cook on high heat on this. I do have a traditional corn tortilla press. So we're gonna see if I can put this to use properly. I tried experimenting with this by like cooking flour tortillas on it once before in a past video, and a lot of you had a lot to say about it in the comments. Okay, so today hopefully we can do this properly. So you need parchment paper. I'm just gonna use 2 pieces like that. You put your little round of dough right there and you flatten it and then you cook it. So let's see if I can do it, but first I need to check on my dough. Okay, it's getting there. It's not sticking as much to my hands. We're gonna let it go longer though. While I'm waiting, I just pulled some mozzarella cheese out of my freezer. I'm just gonna put it in a bowl because we're gonna need this on the tacos. It can start to thaw a little bit. I'm also pretty excited because I realized that I have leftover sauce from yesterday. It's that jalapeno cilantro sauce with lime in it. And I think that over top of the tacos is gonna be perfect. I'm also gonna cut my parchment paper so it's in more of a square. I just wanna prevent any possible issues here. So let's make a ball, roll it around, and then press it flat. And it looks good because it's not cracking on the ends. So now, how big do I want these? I don't quite know how big to do this, so I am gonna weigh it. So we're gonna do ounces. From what I read a blog post from the kitchen, and they go over how to make corn tortillas. So I'm kind of following those directions. I've made another recipe before, but I liked these directions, so I'm trying it out. Okay, so 1.5 ounces is what they said. So I'm gonna try that. I also just turned on my stove, so my pan is heating up nice and hot. You wanna give it a few minutes to get nice and hot before you cook these. I'm gonna press down. Oh, it looks good so far. I'm gonna turn it and do it again. See if I can get these big enough. Okay, that looks good. Now let's see if I can transfer it. Ah, amazing. All right, so you do 10 seconds on one side, then you flip it and you do 40 seconds, and then you flip it again and you do 30 seconds. At least that's what the recipe said to do. So it's a 10, 40, 30 rule. All right, I think it's been long enough. Okay, done. First one is done. I hope it doesn't break on me. It looks pretty good. All right, so got my tortillas. This next part I imagine is gonna be tricky. So I'm gonna dip the tortillas in the fat here. Then I'm gonna fill it with a little bit of meat, a little bit of cheese, fold it, stick it on the skillet and let it get a little bit crispy, and then I need to transfer it to like something so it's ready to go. So, wish me luck. I have a sheet pan ready. This is gonna go off to the side. That's where the finished tacos will go. Dip it. Those look good. This turned out better. I'm gonna do 2 at a time. It's easier to keep track. All right, got our tortillas. This is actually working. It's turning out. It's definitely a mess, but I think it's gonna be worth it. If you feel like having just like a fun dinner where you go crazy, this is it. Wash my hands. This is what your hands will look like. I feel like I'm running a restaurant at the moment. Put this on high. Okay. Are we joking right now? This looks amazing. I have to say, it does look pretty authentic. I don't have a salad to go with it, but that would be ideal. All right, this is obviously very rich, so I'm gonna lighten it up with this beautiful green sauce, cilantro, jalapeno, some sour cream. And this will be dinner. Well, that was fun. And now it's time to dig in. So excited. Amazing. You're gonna love this.
This looks amazing.
No, I just eat a lot because has nothing bad in it.
Thomas.
No.
I hope you guys enjoyed this roundup of 25 of my favorite recipes from the past 6 months or so. And I do this every few months, so thank you so much for watching. This is a great way to kind of catch up on any highlights. And I will see you again with fresh new content next week.